a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. I believe Dr. Wells had something he'd like to say real quick.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just recently, we had the passing of Miss Kathy Stone. Miss Stone was a faculty member at Amherst County High School. She first joined the ACPS family in January of 2017, and she dedicated her life to education and the well-being of her students. Her passion for teaching was evident in how she continued to come to work even though she was battling what we found out would become terminal cancer. She had a profound impact on the lives of countless students, parents, families, colleagues throughout our school community. I just want us to really think about Ms. Stone and her family, but also remember that, if you remember back, this is the second staff member the high school has lost this year. So not only to ask you to keep Ms. Stone's family in your thoughts and your prayers, but also the ACHS and ACPS families as well as we go into the moment of silence. So thank you, sir.
So if we could stand for our moment of silence and pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, board. They had a chance to see the agenda.
Make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Dr. Wells, we have an agenda.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, we start with our recognitions. I will come up to the podium first and do our student recognitions and some of our staff recognitions, and then I'll be back and forth a few times to get my list. All right, we're on. So we're going to start with Student of the Month. So when our Students of the Month, when I call your name, please come forward. We'll stand up here until everybody gets here, then we'll take some pictures. I'll read a little narrative about you. Then after Students of the Month, we'll do Staff of the Month. So students, Amherst County High School, we have Charles Casey Harvey. You get to stand up here the longest. Sorry about that. So Casey is a 10th grader at the high school and has excelled in the classroom. He currently has straight A's and perfect attendance for the second semester. Ms. Tucker stated that Casey has not only been an amazing student in class, but that he always offers to assist his classmates as well. He is a true team player and exemplifies all that we expect from a Lancer. Way to go, Casey. Congratulations. Amherst Education Center, Kaylin Gunner. All right, Kaylin is not here this evening. So Kaylin is an independent worker. She is taking geometry, yet she is in the classroom where her classmates are all taking AFTA and algebra. Kaylin is doing well academically and waits patiently until her math teacher is able to assist. She's a patient, pleasant, and respectful young lady. She comes to school regularly and is a joy to have in their building. Congratulations to Kaylin. Okay. Terrence Martin, Amherst Middle School. Terrence is an 8th grade student who excels in academics, attendance, and behavior. Moreover, he brings a positive and welcoming energy to everyone he interacts with. His kind words, smile, and outlook on life can lift everyone's spirit and put a smile on their face. Terrence is a student who models respect, responsibility, and resilience every day. It is a privilege to have him as part of our school community, and we're excited to see where his future takes him. Congratulations. So next we have Manelsa Middle School, Layla Anderson. All right. Layla is always prepared for class. She asks questions when she doesn't understand and answers questions intelligently. She interacts appropriately with her peers and with adults and stays away from the drama. Layla has been an AB honor roll student all year. She's a member of the Tri-M chapter at MMS, and most recently competed in the state archery tournament. Layla truly represents Manelson well in all areas. Amelon Elementary School, Charlie Murray. Okay. And Charlie's not here. Charlie's a hard worker and always looks for ways to help others. He has thoughtful questions and always participates in discussions. During dismissal, he is always asking the teacher how he can help her. When a student easily dropped and spilled a bag of chips in the hall, as they were dismissing, Charlie ran and got the broom and dustpan and worked to clean it up. Charlie recently started reading chapter books and always completes his work. He's always has a positive attitude. Congratulations to Charlie. Amherst Elementary School, Stella Wren Campbell. Wren is kind to students and adults. She is conscientious and works hard to get her work done. She is devoted to learning the most that she can. She exhibits our school motto of going far by being focused, accountable, and respectful. Congratulations to Wren. Central Elementary School, Timothy Fridley. Right. Timmy is always being considerate of others around him. He is always encouraging to his classmates while in small group. He is accountable and always completes his work, participates in class, and follows instructions. Overall, Timmy is a great student who comes to school eager to learn and is a great example of what it means to be considerate, accountable, there, and safe. Congratulations. Elin Elementary School, Keelan Richardson. All right. Keelan is such a kind student. He is always helpful and is a good friend to others. He works hard to complete assignments and is resilient in class. When other students describe Keelan, they say things like, Keelan is the best, or everyone likes Keelan. Congratulations, Keelan, on being a great example of a soaring eagle. Congratulations. Huh. Lila? Hayes, come on up. I'm sorry. All right, want me to read it again, or are you good? Okay. All right. Lila is always prepared for class. She asks questions when she doesn't understand and answers questions intelligently. She interacts appropriately with her peers and with adults and stays away from the drama. Lila has been an AB Honor Roll student all school year. She's a member of the Tri-M chapter at MMS and most recently competed in the state archery tournament. Lila truly represents Manelson well in all areas. Congratulations. You're welcome. Madison Heights Elementary, Anakin Berger. Okay. When Anakin found out that he was being recognized as the Madison Heights Star Student of the Month, he said, "This is the best day of my life." Anakin brings joy to all those around him. He is always kind, courteous, and friendly. He always looks for the best in others and works hard each day to be the best student he can be. Congratulations, Anakin. We're so proud of you. And Temperance Elementary School, Abigail Etter. So Abigail exudes the temperance tease in many ways. She is thoughtful in the way she often looks out for others. She notices when someone is in need and will jump in to help them. She is trustworthy. I can always count on her to be organized, keep her word, and give 100%. She is a team player. She has on other occasions gone out of her way to pick up trash off the playground so that it continues to be a nice place to play. Abigail is a creative mind. She recently wrote and performed a play for the school talent show. She often enjoys reading and writing comic strips. Temperance is lucky to have a student like Abigail, and we are proud to call her the Student of the Month. Congratulations. So parents, what we're going to do, we'll take a picture, and your schools have the certificates, but we'll do the photo here. We'll get the photo back down to the principals, and they'll get it to you, so you'll have the pictures, okay? You're welcome to take pictures as well if you want, but we're going to we'll do one on the good camera here. So, Mr. Terry? Yes, slide this way.
You want me to wheel you down here?
All right, everybody. Yes, we are. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations, everybody. Bless you.
All right. Next, we have Staff of the Month. So this is for February, and the Education Foundation was working with the same folks. Sonny Merriman actually sponsors the gift cards that the Students of the Month and the Staff of the Month get, so it comes to a grant through Sonny Merriman. So just want to recognize them publicly tonight, too. But they had an idea of not just students, let's recognize staff. So we didn't say teachers, because we have more than just teachers in our school that do great jobs. So I want to make sure staff are recognized. So as I call staff, if you're here, if I call your name, please come forward. You get a certificate, and you get a gift card to Walmart that you'll get to use to buy a couple snacks on the way home. All right. So Amherst County High School, Miss Christy Four. You get to stand up here like the kids did. Ms. Ford teaches marketing, advanced marketing, and economics at ACHS. She is beloved by her students and her colleagues and is always incredibly positive. In addition to her responsibilities in the classroom, Ms. Ford also goes above and beyond by being the sponsor of the 12th Man Club in the fall, as well as a junior class sponsor. Additionally, she serves as our social media lead for the high school. Anyone who follows our social media page knows that Mrs. Ford does an amazing job of updating the public on all the great things going on at the high school. Thank you, Ms. Ford. Amherst Education Center, Ms. Kristen Braswell. Ms. Braswell is a teacher that is very supportive of all the students and staff. She is acting principal for Mr. Penn when he needs to be out of the building. She assists when students become upset or disruptive and does a wonderful job in calming them down and helps them to see reason in a positive way. Mrs. Braswell is present in the cafeteria during lunch and afternoon dismissal on a daily basis, even though she is not officially on duty. Ms. Braswell has a very friendly disposition and treats everyone with kindness. She brightens the school atmosphere with her contagious smile. She is a joy to work with. In closing, a reminder of her statement to the students: make it a great day. This is why I nominated her as our Star Staff of the Month at AEC. Ms. Braswell. Amherst Middle School, Ms. Lisa Lobb. Nobody got bit by any snakes the other night, right? Good. Ms. Lisa Lobb is a science teacher at Amherst Middle School. She has over 15 years of experience and is admired by the school's faculty and students. Recently, she was awarded the 2023 Donna Sterling Exemplary Middle School Science Teacher Award for her outstanding work. Mrs. Lobb is passionate about providing positive learning opportunities for her students and helping her colleagues. She is actively involved in the AMS STEAM Club, the Ribbon Team, and preparing lesson bins for bridge activities. Mrs. Lobb is always willing to help whenever needed. Amherst Middle School is delighted to celebrate Ms. Lisa Lobb as the February Star Staff of the Month. And I believe you had a major role to play in the Amherst Middle School science, just a little bit. Manelson Middle School, Mr. Landon Fielder. I know, you had soccer. Mr. Fielder teaches 3 Spanish classes at Manelson and then travels to Amherst Middle School to teach 2 Spanish classes there. When you walk by his class at Manelson, you can see students sitting at desks, beanbag chairs, or some other form of alternate seating. No matter where the students are sitting, the one thing that is always happening is engagement and learning in the classroom. Mr. Fielder has built a positive rapport with his students and breathed a lot of life back into the Manelson Middle School Spanish program. Most recently, Mr. Fielder stepped up to be the soccer coach for Manelson Trojans. We appreciate all that he does for the school and the division as a whole. Thank you, Mr. Fielder. And that explains the shorts. He gets a pass on that. He was doing soccer. All right. Amelon Elementary School, Miss Laura Tomlin. And I have all y'all stuff here. I'll give them to you. You just get yours first. I did. Laura goes above and beyond every day as she steps foot in the door. She has managed to fill in as a sub on several occasions and continues to serve her special needs students. She never complains. I've never once heard her raise her voice. She always does more than her expected duties and is willing to fill in for anyone at any time. She is a shining light at Amelon. We are so blessed to work with someone who has an enormous heart for all the children of Amelon. Congratulations. Amherst Elementary School, Miss Becky Johnson. Ms. Johnson goes the extra mile for her students. She works to meet students' individual needs and keeps open communication with their parents in order for them to work together. She also models a positive attitude for her students and her coworkers. Congratulations to Ms. Johnson. Central Elementary School, Ms. Audrey Top. Ms. Tock was selected as a STAR staff member because she consistently works with the students and parents to ensure that all students' needs are met. Her collaboration with parents includes regular communication with them at events and during the school day as applicable, face-to-face interactions, constant communication on the phone, and email notifications to keep parents well informed of their students' progress and goal achievement. In addition, Ms. Tock goes well beyond expectations to ensure that all paraprofessionals working with students are meeting the needs of the students on her caseload. Ms. Taka also consistently maintains a positive and professional attitude as she emulates being a wildcat. Congratulations. Elon Elementary School, Miss Sarah Prim. Sarah comes to work and puts her heart into her job with her students and staff every day. She's well organized. She works with all ages. She creates monthly staff activities to promote coming together, to enjoy each other's company, and to have fun. We greatly appreciate all she does for our staff at Elon. Congratulations. Madison Heights Elementary, Miss Candy Austin. Profoundly empathetic and loving, Ms. Austin brings an understanding of her students' individual needs to the classroom each day. She recognizes that every child is unique with their own strengths, struggles, and stories. With patience and compassion, she tailors her approach, unlocking the potential within each student and instilling in them the confidence to overcome obstacles and to soar to new heights. We are so thankful to have her as a part of our Madison Heights family. Congratulations. Temperance Elementary School, Alexa Parrish. Ms. Parrish is in her first year as school counselor. In addition to the traditional roles of a school counselor, Alexa has taken on the challenging duties of being IST chair. Congratulations. She has taken on this duty despite of all the challenges that it offers and worked diligently to learn the ins and outs of the position. Ms. Parrish taught lessons on kindness to the students during the month of February and created a kindness wall in the hallway. Along with the kindness wall, Ms. Parrish visited classes to promote the ATSS theme of the month of positivity. She planted seeds with the class so that they could watch positivity grow. She also incorporated a ruler into this activity to hit the science and math SOLs. Ms. Parrish modeled the ATSS themes for TES of being thoughtful, trustworthy, and a team player. Congratulations. Transportation Department, Ms. Cleo Freeman. Ms. Freeman shines all year round. Before the month of February, she brought Happy Meals for her high school and elementary students, along with good bags for Valentine's Day. Just a side note, she gives them a birthday and Christmas presents, along with pizza parties, etc. She volunteers at the schools and visits the schools for special functions for her kiddos, including baseball and basketball games. So congratulations. And I know your students appreciate the extra effort and attention that goes into that, so thank you. From the school administration office, Ms. Gwen Ellis, and I don't think Gwen's here either tonight. So for Ms. Ellis, the All in Virginia science lessons, we owe much to her unwavering support. Whenever there's a delay in material shipments or unfilled orders, she embarks on a frantic quest all across Amherst and Lynchburg, sometimes 5 stores in one day, to secure the necessary materials for both students and teachers. Taking initiative, she heads to AEC. Mrs. Smith nominated her, so when Ms. Smith is tied up at schools and independently organizes the science supplies, making it convenient for our staff to pick them up in a timely manner. Frequently, she extends her working hours beyond 5 o'clock, which is when she's not supposed to ensure everything is set for the following day, and she manages it all with a cheerful smile. We cannot do it without her. Congratulations.
Yay, pictures.
I want to switch places. I want to stand next to my former students.
Oh, even better.
One, two, three.
Y'all welcome to stay.
It's nice to see you too. Congratulations.
Free to leave. They're back there. They might have gone. They're back there. Yeah. Next recognition is for the students involved in the Real World Design Challenge, if I can enunciate. They're state champions, by the way. I'm going to read a small narrative from the Design Challenge website. Then I'm going to have Ms. Stinson come up and say a few words, and then the students are actually going to present a little bit about what they did, and we also have their certificates for them, too, for winning the state for that. So the Real World Design Challenge is an annual competition that provides high school students, grades 9 through 12, the opportunity to work on real-world engineering challenges in a team environment. Each year, student teams are asked to address a challenge that confronts our nation's leading industries. Students will utilize professional engineering software to develop their solutions and will also generate presentations that convincingly demonstrate the value of their solutions. The Real World Design Challenge provides students with opportunities to apply the lessons of the classroom to the technical problems that are being faced in the workplace. Ms. Stinson?
So first and foremost, I'm Betty Stinson, and I want to thank you. I've been participating, sorry. I'm used to just projecting and not having to worry about that. But I want to thank you all, and I want to thank the high school, Mr. Crawford, Dr. Wells, for giving me this opportunity for the last 3 years to be working with these students. I've truly been blessed, and I have learned so much. And the fact that, you know, they're 2-time state champions, this will be their 2nd time winning it, and the 3rd time they're going to nationals. Our students are doing amazing things, and we are very blessed, so thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Violet, our team captain, to come up and do the presentation.
Hello, I'm Violet Miller, the leader of the Snow Goose team, and this is our design, the Firefly. So we have me, team leader, and also in our engineering block is Carter, Jeremiah, and with writing we have Lily, James, Phoebe, and Victoria. All of us do a mixture of researching, designing, modeling, and making pretty slideshows. So as you heard, the Real Design Challenge is an international design competition in which teams from all over the world design a drone in response to a given prompt. There are 3 levels of the challenge: states, nationals, and internationals. We are the state champions for Virginia, so we are moving on to compete nationally representing Virginia. The challenge for this year is to design a drone which can monitor and assess wildfire risk for active and potential wildfire zones. And in order to accomplish that, we have the Firefly, which is a fixed-wing drone, kind of like a small plane, which the main feature that it has is that its wings are able to angle at different directions, which allows it to change its flight characteristics to suit the variable purposes that the drone must fulfill. And this is a photo of it. Thank you to Carter for making the pretty drone. Thank you.
So our first certificate is Lily Ryder, but she's not with us tonight. Phoebe Camp. Victoria Freeman. And this was Phoebe's and Victoria's first year on the team, and they are our only first time on the team. They both were very invaluable on what they helped with. Our next one is Jeremiah Burford. Jeremiah has been on it 2 years. Both times we were state champions. James Camp. This is James' second year. Violet Miller. Violet's been team captain, co-captain, and been with us all 3 years. And then we have Carter Hansen. And Carter has been with us for 2 years as well. That's everybody.
Okay, photo op.
Ms. Justice, can you go either direction? There you go. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
All right, the last recognition for me this evening is Ms. Brandy Hall Matson. Brandy was selected as the Lynchburg Living, congratulations, Top Teacher of the Year Award, and this is voted on through the Lynchburg Living magazine, and she was selected as the Top Teacher of the Year, and she's a special education teacher at Elon Elementary School. We want to congratulate her on that and just and recognize her this evening here with us tonight. And if you want to say anything, you're more than welcome to. Okay.
Thank you.
And they presented her a certificate. We gave her a certificate at school, so that's why she's not getting one this evening.
You didn't bring it with you?
I didn't know I was part of the photo op.
That's the surprise. Congratulations, Ms. Hall Matson.
Yep, I think we're done. Whew. That's awesome.
Good job.
Awesome.
Okay. Moving on to 3.01, public hearing concerning the 2024-2025 school operation budget.
So, Mr. Chair, we do need to go and have a public hearing regarding the operational budget. Just remind people, the audience, this is just for the operational budget. There'll be a public comment opportunity for general information after this. So we have to go into we need a motion to close it at the end. So right now, we've opened the public hearing.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So do we have anybody from the audience who'd like to make comment on this coming budget? We didn't have anybody sign up, I don't believe, yeah. So, okay. Well, I'm seeing none who want to comment on the budget, so I need a motion to close this session.
Motion to close public comment on the budget.
public hearing.
Public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Dr. Wells?
Next, we have public comment.
Okay, public comment. So there again, we had no one sign up tonight. Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to speak for public comment? Okay. Well, seeing none, we'll move on.
All right.
Okay.
So next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration of approval for the 24-25 school operational budget. Just a few notes as we get into this. So per your request, we presented you with 4 possible options for the 24-25 budget. I do ask, as we get into details of this, the information, the questions that were given to us, we presented those to y'all earlier today through email. I do ask, some of those positions are very identifiable if you look at them line by line, so I would ask that we don't have any, discussion regarding individual positions. but we'll be glad to discuss the bigger picture of the budget. The options tonight would be y'all could discuss and decide on an option and approve tonight, or we can come back tomorrow and have further discussion. It's up to the purview of the board.
Okay. Board, have you had time to look at the questions and look at the options that were presented to us?
Yes, sir.
So did everyone get their questions answered, resolved, that you had proposed to Dr. Wells? Okay. Okay.
So if you like, we can go through the 4 options, just so y'all, if you'd like us to do that with you, and then kind of go through that so you have some more information. Again, if there's general questions, we can answer. If, again, there's specific questions about individuals, we have to go in closed session and have those separately.
Great.
Okay? So I'm going to start. Ms. Laconage will jump in wherever I mess up or need help, need assistance, or if y'all have specific questions, we'll do our best to answer your questions. Again, option 1 gave a 3% compensation increase. With the option 1 for this year, it would also add a 2% increase for contracted bus assistants, additional 2% increase for cafeteria, non-administrative, miscellaneous pay scale adjustment, and increase employer contribution for health insurance. I want to emphasize that's just our contribution to the plan because we're self-insured to shore up the reserves we have and to solidify the plan. It has no impact on the employees. Their plans do not change. Their premiums do not change based off of this. And then there'd be 5 all-in Virginia employees funded in the operating budget. Ms. Laconage, anything you need to add? Do y'all have any questions, I guess, will be first. Okay.
Yeah.
Option 2, again, has a 3% teacher pay scale adjustment. We do more target adjustments on step 0 through 19 to bring us more in line or more ahead of some of our local jurisdictions in the area. Again, the 2% increase for bus assistants, a 2% increase for cafeteria, non-administrative. Again, miscellaneous pay scale with increase employer contribution to health insurance, again, to 11.5. And then we'd do 4 positions in all-in, from all-in and operating. So that's the option 2. As we go to option 3, there'll be a 4% compensation increase for all staff, as opposed to the 3% in options 1 and option 2. But since we're doing a 4%, we'd only increase the contracted bus assistants by 1% and cafeteria by 1% because they'd be getting the other percent through the general compensation increase. Miscellaneous pay scale adjustments, we would increase employer contribution to insurance to 8%, and then 2 positions funded through operating from all-in Virginia. And then again, option 4 is 4%. The only difference here is we would do a 3% for administrators, 12-month type staff. And then, so we'd do a 4% for everybody else, 3% for administration. We adjust the target from 0 to 19. Additional 1% again, and so forth there, and then 2 all-in Virginia slots. So that's the 30,000 foot down and dirty view of it, but if there's specific questions, I would be glad to try to answer them.
Okay. Board, any questions for Dr. Wells?
Dr. Wells,
Joe?
what's the difference? So like options 1 and 2 have the employer contribution going to 11.5, and then 3 and 4 have it going to 8. None of those plans have any effect on the employee contributions or benefits?
Yes, sir. That's just on our side to, again, put fund to better
shore up the fund?
the fund since we're self-insured.
Okay. And then my other question was on the all-in Virginia positions, were they not funded? I'm curious why we're adding those to the operating budget instead of using the all-in Virginia funds that Governor Youngkin provided for that.
So we could go that route. However, if we push those positions into the operating, it'll be less of a hit next year in year 2 when the funding isn't from the state isn't as much of an increase. And it will actually free up those all-in Virginia funds that we can put towards summer school and build up that program in this year and as well into next year.
So it's just a matter of pulling them from, one funding source to the other, but it does allow us to put it in operating now, which frees up those all-in Virginia funds for other things again such as summer school or other remediation type programs.
Okay.
Mr. Terry?
Yes, sir.
The, back to the insurance part. Now, I remember us talking about it when we went into privately funding our insurance. That 7.5% pay-in was something I believe we did discuss. And there wasn't any further discussion about that going up. In other words, we thought that with 7.5%, we were going to be able to build our I guess our nest egg, so to speak, and keep the insurance going. So why is that something that we're looking at investing more in now versus when we first set this up?
Really, it's the available funding. So when the division switched over to being self-funded, it was with the understanding it was going to take several years as we build up to be able to not depend on the reserves to cover any claims, being again, that we're self-funded. The 7.5 was what, with the governor's proposed, we would allow. Ideally, we would like to get to a point where the operating budget covers those claims and we don't have to dip into the reserves and have those there for when we have high claimed years.
Right, so are we anticipating something happening? Because, I mean, going from 7.5 up to 11.5 on option one seems to be like a pretty substantial step. And those funds those funds come out of the operational budget, correct?
Yes.
So that funding can't be used somewhere else.
No.
So we can't borrow against the insurance.
I mean, as part of your operating, if you,
Legally, you can. Legally, you can.
Yes.
We would just recommend not to, because then if you do have a bad year, then you don't have the funds there to support it, to cover
Right.
it. But they are our funds. So, but technically, yes, we can, but I would not,
Recommend.
unless we have 50 million sitting there, then I'll say, sure, you can take $1 million out, we'd be okay.
Right.
Which I don't see us getting there anytime soon.
Understand.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand why there's in all three options, there's, 1 and 2, you're going to 11.5. On 3 and 4, you're more conservative about it, but it's in there for a reason, and I'm trying to understand why.
Very few months do our premiums cover our expenses. So right now, we're spending more in expenses and we're taking in premiums each month from our employees. We had a $300,000, over 1 month because of certain health issues some of our employees had. So very few, we have a few months where we meet it and sometimes we're ahead, but a lot of times we are right on the bubble, or in a few months our premiums have brought in X amount and our expenses have been up here. So we want to make sure we have enough funds sitting there so we can cover those months when you have those months like that. And that's the reasoning for trying to build that fund up a little bit more. So when you have those months where it's out of balance due to premiums, so we have those funds there. But
Right,
also,
so
but
the
also
initial-
in keeping a $2 million sitting there for those rainy days.
Right. So the consensus is basically we need a little bit more money in there just to make sure we're good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Would we need that much? Can we, go to 10 and then put the 1.5% to something else, like maintenance?
Well, that's where option 4, 3, and 4 come in. So it goes into the 1%. We pull the money from that to make the 1% and the salary adjustments. That's kind of where we pull it from to make that happen. I wouldn't recommend going below the 7.
No, I
Cutting.
wouldn't. I just didn't know if we had to do 11.5 if we wanted to do option 1 or 2.
Don't have to. That's just what we figured in.
Yeah, that would just give you more money for something else.
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it just sounds like if it was the 11.5 or the 8 or whichever one, it's trying to get you to that cushion in case we have that catastrophic year where it's.
Well, it gets us that cushion, but it also gets us to a high enough amount in our account that if we want to pass on savings to our employees, there's enough money there we can reduce their premiums in the long run. Right now, we're not at a point
You can't do that yet.
that we can do that, so we'd like to build it up so we can get to a point where we can reduce our premiums to our employees.
Gotcha. Gosh, yes, ma'am.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know in option 1 and 2, it goes to 11.5% for healthcare. And then in option 3 and 4, it goes to 8. In the second year of the biennium, option 1 and 2, I'm assuming would not increase the healthcare. I mean, you've got down here increased healthcare contributions. Probably wouldn't increase as much, whereas option 3 and 4, you would probably bring back a greater
I
increase in
think that would be
health.
correct.
next
And we
year.
always, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. We always look at it on a monthly basis to see what the trends are. It's hard to predict, diagnosis of our staff and, what they may be experiencing and what those claims are gonna be. But we do analyze it every month and just see how it's trending. The last several months have been, a lot better than the beginning part of the year. But we would, we would look next year to see what it's looking like. And if we've had to pull from the, at the reserve to, in this year, if that reserve is still intact.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Board, any more questions?
Not on the insurance, but I did have one about the all-in. The positions were originally brought on through grant, correct? And what was
So,
what was the purpose of that?
do you want to speak?
I mean, the purpose of, yeah.
So the purpose of the actual grant itself was to provide interventions and support for learning loss for our K through 12. It was to provide literacy funding for the new Virginia Literacy Act, and it was to provide support for chronic absenteeism. Those are the three things that the state is making sure that we had funding for so that we could make up lost time from the pandemic. So those three things were, we had to tie positions or textbooks or materials or supplies or our attendance officers to those specific areas of the grant. So the grant was very specific on how it should be spent,
Right.
what allocations could be done, and for what particular area.
Right, so now that we're post-pandemic, I don't believe from the numbers that we're seeing that we're back at where we were pre-pandemic, right? Is that my understanding here?
All in Virginia, though, just be clear, that was money this past
Past year.
October.
Correct.
So just make sure we get the All in Virginia funds separate from CARES and from
Correct.
GEARS and all the other things that happened during the pandemic. This is not it's pandemic related because they're trying to get everybody caught up from some of the missed instruction.
Right,
But it's not a
right.
direct result of money we received during the pandemic. Does that make sense?
Right. It was to target specific things.
Right.
And so we've taken those funds, we've targeted those things. Now, obviously, you you put a Band-Aid on a wound and it'll heal, right? But you're still healing from that wound, right? And that's where we're at. I'm just wondering if these positions are something that needs to continue the funding so we can continue to see benefit from them, or have we gotten to the point where we can take the Band-Aid off and let the wound continue to heal and move forward that way? I mean, I know it's not an easy choice. I know it's not an easy path, and there's a lot of struggle, and I understand that. But is the sacrifice in the budget going to benefit us in the way of attendance, making sure that they're coming to school? Because I understand that's always a struggle. And we had that problem before the pandemic, and we have it now. But I want to make sure that those funds, once they run out, we're not funding something that we're not really going to see a benefit from in the future.
Right. So I'll take attendance, and Marie, you can join in anytime you want to. So right now, we have our last accreditation cycle, we had several that were in level 3 in regards to their attendance, meaning that they did not meet the state benchmarks. In order for kids to learn, they've got to be at school. You know
Absolutely.
that, and you've been a proponent of that. What we do know is that the All-In Virginia specifically identified chronic absenteeism as a major concern, not just in Virginia, but all across the nation.
Correct.
And so they wanted to be very specific. Along with that came many, many regulations and many reporting systems that had to happen from the state regarding chronic absenteeism. So Kevin Harrison, our SIS manager, Marie, Dr. Hoden, all of them have to do these additional reports. We have to track attendance differently. We have to track and do specific things for chronic absenteeism. And doing that made us aware that we needed those attendance officers, because if we're not actually on the phone or face-to-face or showing up at a house or doing the hard work, the due diligence with every family, we fall short on supporting our community. And so that when you ask, is there something that we can give up and we're at a point where we can move forward and we're back to where we were pre-pandemic, it will take 3 to 4 years to get us where we were pre-pandemic. And we were still struggling with attendance then. The same thing happens with academics. The same thing is regarding to the Virginia Literacy Act with our academic and curriculum. So we've got a long way to go, and we're trying to make sure that the operational budget is set, and when there are grant funds, that we can fund those very important positions to kind of shore us up. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, I didn't understand the legislation side of it, where
Yes.
they were throwing in, I guess, insurances for their money to make sure that their money was being used for what it was supposed to. And I'm just kind of curious, is that paperwork going to fall off now that the funds are going away for that?
It hasn't yet. We have actually a
Is it something-
CARES 3 funding report due in 30 days. So even though the funds are running out, those reports, until everything makes through with a cohort of kids, which you got to think about that cohort of kids is sitting in the 3rd grade now. And
Right.
we're required to maintain and track along the way.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Childress?
So, couple things. One, I have a little concern that you had a note on the document you provided, basically showing that and no matter which option we choose, we're going to be about $680,000 in the hole next year.
Okay, I wanted to clarify, because you're the second board member that took it that way, so
Okay.
I apologize. That is the projected additional state funding that, based off of the paperwork from DOE, we would receive additional state funding in year 2. That is not the amount of the deficit. I'd like to say that was the deficit, because some of these projections, it would be, unless we found savings within our own budget, it could be higher.
Okay. All right, and then my other question, Dr. Wells, is of the various options that you laid out, which one do you like? Which one does your administration propose?
Well, I wasn't going to make a recommendation, but since you've asked me, I think there are 2 ways to look at it. I think if we went option 2, that would adjust the pay scale, and that would do a 3% raise for staff, while still funding our insurance. Although option 3, the discussion of the board at the retreat was making sure, doing our best to be more competitive with our surrounding counties and surrounding localities that we compete against for staff. Option 3 would give us that extra % of pay for our staff that other localities aren't doing. So, for example, one of our local jurisdictions, one of our local neighboring counties, they had their meeting Tuesday night, and they're doing a 3%. They're recommending a 3% raise. So if we went with the 4% raise, we'd be more competitive with them, and made some minor adjustments to the scale. We'd be more competitive with that school division. I don't know what some of the others are doing. I know, like I said, one of our others, there's still $8 or $9 million difference between their proposed budget and what their board is. Funding board is going to give them, so I know they're going to have issues what they're going to be doing with salaries too. So the 4% would make us more competitive, So if we're looking at it from a being more competitive and just focused on this year, I would say I would go with option 3. If we're looking at doing a 3% this year and having additional funding, more funding into the next year, so it would not as, might not need to make as many decisions about next year's budget and the 25-26 budget, then option 3 would be probably a little bit safer as far as the amount of funds we have left over for the carry-on part of the biennium. I think either one to work, but the 4% would give our staff a little bit more of a bump compared to our local surrounding school divisions. But from what we've been hearing through the news, again, everybody's in the same boat we are right now. They've all made recommendations. Nothing's been approved at any division yet, as you know from your full-time job. So we know where we are there. We haven't received the calc tool from the state yet, so we really don't know the fine details and the fine print. So if you ask me, I would say for the benefit of the staff, I would say a 4% raise,
I have a
which would be
question.
option 3.
I guess, a follow-up. So would that help with retention, Mr.
I
Gallagher?
believe it would.
Which, option 3 or option 2, which is the better for retention?
Well, option 3 would be better
Okay.
for supporting retention.
Thank you.
Mr. Derry?
Okay. Yes, sir.
I hate to bring the insurance thing up again, but the fact that we haven't raised the employee contribution part of insurance, other surrounding counties have, or are they in the same? What I'm saying is, without increasing insurance, if we did have to increase insurance, it would be like a benefit. We talked about it at the retreat.
So, yes, sir.
Versus, raising rates and giving them a 4% raise. If you're taking away that 1% with insurance next year.
We don't anticipate raising rates on insurance. Actually, what we're looking at doing, once we go through the budget process, insurance rates adjust in October. Insurance plans adjust in October, so that will give us now to October to look at our insurance. We have multiple options with insurance. What I'd like to do is to survey our staff. There's an option where we could look at the deductible limits and possibly use some of those savings to lower the actual rate of our employees' premiums. But I don't anticipate us raising the premiums on any of our employees anytime. I think we're really, if I can do anything, I would look to see how we can lower those premiums to make it, again, more take-home money for our employees as opposed to raising premiums.
Right, and by lowering the out-of-pocket, or raising the out-of-pocket for the deductible.
For the deductible,
they would
correct.
lower their
Yeah,
premiums.
but-
Now, have you heard of any other county having to raise those rates in the last year?
I know a county over in our region, they're not self-insured. They're negotiating a 30% increase in their insurance this year. They're trying to figure out how to keep their staff from having to pay that because their insurance rates went up 30% to their provider.
Right, and I think making sure that everyone's aware of that potential could work as a bonus.
Right.
I mean, it's not money they're paying out in their premiums every time they're paying their insurance versus giving them a flat-out raise. It's like, we did this so you didn't have to pay more out of your pocket.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Laconich, question for you. Dr. Wells mentioned that some months where we spent more in our insurance than we got brought in premiums, and other months we were okay. In the course of a year, where are we in the hole, or are we treading water, or where are we?
We are currently in the hole. It's not abnormal because of the fact that we have an extra payroll in July with that summer payout for the staff that gives us a boost at the end. But it is, beginning of the year, it was very concerning, but it is starting to level off. And like I said, the last 4 months, we've been gaining ground.
Okay. So that's where the 11.5 would come in to help
Yes, sir.
get that better. But, okay.
Mr. Gallagher, wouldn't option 4 be better for retention? Because that gives the 4% raise to the staff, but it also does that adjustment in the pay band for teachers that are 0 to 19 that we were concentrating on, trying to make sure that we continue to work.
Well,
to
any
increase the pay.
increases across the board, and if you're making adjustments in pay bands, certainly would be beneficial to retention.
So in option 4, they would get that 4% plus the adjusted pay band increase, correct?
Correct.
And-
That is correct.
And the range 0 to 19, is that the target range that you think we need to work on retention, or do we need to do 0 to 15, or?
It's more, isn't it like more in the 5 to 20?
That was sort of
or-
our phase one approach
Yeah.
with the recruiting and retention, just to be more competitive. We plan on, going further down the pay scale till we.
Yeah, as we got above the 19, the 0 to 19 is the majority where we can make up ground easily. When you get above the 19 to 20 to 25, a couple of our neighboring divisions outpace us between 3,000 to 5,000. So it was hard. We couldn't make that up right now, but we want to work towards that as we continue adjusting the pay bands over time. But we couldn't make that all up right now. But if you ask about option 4 is a viable option. When I was asked about all staff,
Right.
I was looking at all staff. And so that's one thing. If you just focus on teachers and teacher assistants, things like that, then obviously it would do that. But option 3 hit everybody as opposed just to, so just.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Saunders.
Then you're reducing to just having 2 all-in Virginia employees funded. How's that gonna, what's the, I guess, worst-case scenario, what's the effect of that?
Only having the 2 that go into the operating budget means that you would have 5 that are in the all-in Virginia funds that will eventually expire. So, whether it's next year, we'll be having to have that conversation to add it into the budget or have that discussion, or if there's enough carryover to sustain it into the following year. But
So we're just prolonging the problem, is that what you mean, prolonging this? And does that affect summer school as well?
It would mean less funding.
Yes.
It would mean less funding for, we take those all in Virginia funds and use it for salary. You can figure $90,000 on average for a position between salary and benefits. So if you have 5 there, you're talking $450,000 of all in money going to that, as opposed to if you had, 5 going into a budget and 2, vice versa. It would just look at the amount of money that you have left in all in. But so it would impact the amount of dollars in all in, which again, through the discussion with the board, we want to use that to pay for summer school and other remedial programs. So it's just a matter of how we work it.
Dr. Wells, Mr. Chair. Of these 4 options, does anyone have which one is the lowest deficit in year 2, I believe it is?
I'll let Ms. O'Connor speak to that since she's done all the prep work.
the lowest deficit would be option 1, because that is the 3% that's called for in the state without any pay scale adjustments.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was waiting my turn now. I have forgotten almost what I want to ask. I know that in the original budget that we received the other day at our workshop, or before our workshop, there are 9.5 new positions. And I know that in option 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to stop for a minute because I know what it was I wanted to say before I started. I wanted to thank you all for bringing these options back. They've been very helpful. They're very clear. I want to especially thank Mrs. Lukanich for pulling that together in such a short time and being able to explain some of those things to me. So thank you for that extra time you put into it. And your whole staff, I know you had to meet with them to come up with this. So thank you. So I know that my questions that I presented today let you know that I'm concerned with having a lot of positions that are incorporated into our budget, our operational budget, from the COVID, from the CARES funds, from the All in Virginia funds. And while every one of those is worthy and helpful, I understand that. And in a you know, in a perfect world, we would keep them and we would add even more. But I'm noticing that we have 9.5 new positions in the original budget that was presented, and that there are 7 all in Virginia positions that you're recommending that we incorporate into our budget. So that's in addition to what we originally found or were presented with. So that brings us to 16.5 new positions. So my question is, because what's bothering me is not these increases in wages. I think we all agree we need to do something to retain and hire our qualified staff. What bothers me is year 2. So my question is, are these 16.5 positions worthy or necessary to be funded this year? In other words, what are there things that we need to look at adjusting in these new positions before we make this decision of having a shortfall next year? Because once they're in the budget, they're going to continue in the budget. And I'm not asking for specific ones. I'm asking, does that reflection need to happen? Or has that already occurred and these are necessary and maybe we're going to have to do some hard work next year? What is your recommendation? I just feel that if I don't ask, when I see 16.5 new positions waiting to be incorporated into our budget, and we're struggling here with giving these increases in compensation, I want to make sure that you guys have reflected on that. This is your best recommendation, that these new positions are necessary and that we can work to make that cliff next year less painful next year as opposed to this year.
Well, I can start and just say during the budget process, we took all the requests, we looked at what positions were grant funded. There was analysis of, you know, the need. There was debate on positions. Is there other options we could do to collapse something or adjust something? So it wasn't just, oh, it was in a grant, we're going to now push it over here into operating. It was a thoughtful process. Is there anything?
Dr. Norman, you want to add?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the 9 with the, to make up the 16. So I pulled back up the staffing changes and the request. As we explained at the budget, on those 9 positions that were for the FTEs, the total increase for this operational budget, several of them are the ones that, like the VPI classroom, that's in the operational budget as a classroom teacher and a IA. However, if we don't get the allotment from the state, that actually goes away. So I think a lot of them, some were in the operational budget before, but were moved out into grants earlier so we could free up money for other things. So I think it was very thoughtful in how we moved around funding streams to get what we needed. There's 3 positions specific for school improvement that we were required to do in 2019-20, that when CARES funding came, we immediately put those into, we immediately started paying for those through CARES funds. But they are something that's required by the state under the SOQs, but they don't give us money for it. So.
Well, I know that, and I'm thankful that you are reflecting on it and looking at what's needed. I mean, we want to provide what's necessary.
Yes, ma'am.
But I think you can understand also that there may come a time that we have to be very strategic about our priorities. You know, given some of what I'm reviewing today, it looks like we've got quite a few new positions that we've done since 2019, since COVID. So that's in addition to the 16.5, hence my concern. So I think the options that we have tonight are all very good options. Again, my worry is the cliff for next year, so I'm going to be pushing that we sharpen our pencils and that we look for what we need to do so that we don't have that cliff next year. Or if we do, it's very minimal. But that's, board, that's my perspective.
So thinking of the cliff that she's speaking of, what are we looking at? Are we, like, do we have an idea, an estimate of what that shortfall would be next year? Because that was kind of the question I was getting, because I thought it was the 680,000.
No, so if you look at that sheet, the 680 is what, and again, we haven't gotten final numbers, and we really don't have an approved budget yet, but the preliminary numbers that they gave, in making our assumption, it appears that in year two, we would receive about $680,000 more. Year two is still calling for a 3% raise. So that second lines on each of those options would tell you it's an estimated what a 3% raise would cost the division. So right off, we're in a deficit. The All-in Virginia, we're using a $90,000 estimate per employee, because some of them are still, some positions are filled, some are vacant, but it averaged out to be around $90,000. The health insurance contribution, again, we would look at that next year. We look at it every month, but we would look to see what kind of adjustment we need to make it, but it's too early to project what that need is going to be next year. So that gives you an idea that, it.
So just David, quick math, that's over 1.5 million.
Minus the 680,000 that you would receive from the state, so.
Well, it's 1.2, for example, option 4. 3% compensation increase to all contracted staff would cost us roughly 1.2 million, right? We're getting $680,000 more, so if you do the math there, you subtract you take 680 from 1249, you're looking at about $600,000 deficit if we.
Right, just to cover the 3%. But then you're looking at all of the other increases. So if you're looking at option 3, you're talking about hiring 3 additional people, putting into the budget at 90,000 each.
Yeah.
The increase in the insurance, increase in the school nutrition. So you're certainly talking over $1 million.
And just from our child nutrition we put this out here just so we're transparent to what we're doing with the pay tables, but child nutrition is funded completely separately, so they really do not impact that number. But yes, you're correct. It would be a deficit, and we would look at any savings we get from someone that might retire and their replacement. We would look within our existing budget to try to minimize any ask before we proceeded into year two.
And typically on a biennium, again, once we get a actual budget that the governor signs and we know what the budget is, then we'll be able to have better understanding of exactly how the strings are attached to the numbers. There could be more than, we're anticipating getting $1.6 million in additional funding over the governor's proposed budget. We think that would be the minimum amount we'd get. We could get more than that based on how the budget actually works out. We haven't been given, we don't have the calc tool. So I can't sit here and say we're getting X. We know from our calculations from what we receive from the state about we anticipate 1.6. 1.6 covers everything you've asked for this year, but then the follow-on year, it does cause some issues. The other thing too on the biennium is when the General Assembly comes back in session, they have the option to look at funding, and they can increase funding or do other things with funding. So we may get additional funding from the state. I can't sit here and tell you that, but we could get additional funding from the state. So that would be, something to consider. But as we get into, no matter which option you go with here, as we get into the summer, we'll have a better idea of what we are. Then we can start looking at things and having conversations with the county and everything else as far as having those preliminary discussions as to what we anticipate it looking like, and then, be able to make some decisions moving into the year for the following year. So regardless of whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, we're going to have those conversations with the county, because no matter which option you choose, there's going to be a shortfall coming into the following school year based off of the budget projections.
Does that give you a lot of concern thinking about next year's budget?
Go ahead.
Or do you feel,
Dr.
Well,
Norman? I'm always concerned when it comes to money.
So if I can add something too, when we started in 2019 and started going through the process, there were things that happened with the state that we were, over the last 3 or 4 years, required, but funding was given through grants rather than through the state. So I talked to you about the VPI, I talked to you about the classroom teacher and the aide, but under our corrective action plan for school improvement, we were required to have 1 math specialist, 1 reading specialist, and 1 school improvement person to oversee that. That's required. No funding came with that. We used CARES funding to actually pay for that since 2019. Eventually, because that's a requirement of the state, that has to come back into the operational budget. The Title III, we were low on our Ls and what we were required to do for those. So last year, you put that into the operational budget for 2 positions there. The Virginia Literacy Act calls for a reading specialist at every middle and secondary school, and so that's 3 positions. We've been paying for that out of either CARES or All in Virginia, but because those are legislated requirements, they got to come back into the budget. So even though these are positions that we're using with grant funds, we've done that because we had that extra money. We knew that we could put it in for the literacy. We knew we could target it through CARES. So it saved operational budgets to be able to do maintenance and the things that needed to happen, because this was instructional funds that we had to use. So we freed up instructional funds to move it elsewhere in the budget. And I don't know if you want to add anything else.
No, that's correct. But as far as, does it concern us for year 2? Any deficit always concerns us. We know that we have to look within our own existing budget to minimize before we do an ask. I would point out that we did inform at that joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors that year 2 in any scenario looked like it was going to be a deficit. So they have been given a heads up. It doesn't mean that we make decisions and then expect them to just cover it. We would look within our own existing budget and see what we can do. But we have prepared them that look like.
that's my concern, right? Is passing a budget that we know we're going to be short on, and it makes it seem like we're going to the county and say, you got to deal with it, kind of thing. And I want to make sure they know that's not what we're trying to do. We certainly want to be good partners and be respectful of the process. My last question is I hear a lot about we had to add a lot of positions. We moved some of those into grant funds. So over that course of that time, did we add positions to the budget that weren't required? I'm trying to figure out how to say what I'm saying.
I wouldn't say we've had anything that's not needed. Required from the state is one thing versus needed. Again, without getting in too much specifics, but there have been 7 positions overall that we've added. And, it's not, and most of those are directly supporting instruction in the schools. So, again, we can, if you want to discuss, I can go specifics in closed session, or I can give them to you later. But, I would say there are some that are required, that are unfunded from the state, and there are some that we said we need to do to better serve our students. I can't say all. I would not sit here and tell you that everything is an unfunded mandate from the state, but there are some that are, and there are some we said this is what we need to do for our students.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Board, as we are looking at options 1 through 4, a piece of information that I would like to know is with option 4, with the 3% compensation increase for administrative staff versus the 4%. I know that our concern is to hire and retain our teachers, but we also want to do that for our administrators as well. Have you done an analysis that lets us know if we kept it at 3%, where we will stand? Because I don't think we've gotten that in our budget book.
That is correct. I think it was yesterday, I did go in and started looking at the localities to see where we compared for that option. And I'm sorry, I haven't shared that with you yet.
That's fine. We're fine right now, so that's fine.
So, and not every division has it posted for their administrators. Some do. The ones that did, I was surprised at the school level administrators that we are in several localities. We are behind what they're paying.
So is it sort of similar to what we're looking at with our teacher scales?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Board, anything else?
One more question.
Yes, sir.
On the increase for contracted bus assistants. Now, are we talking bus drivers or just the assistants?
The assistants. And part of that is due to minimum wage requirements, because by 26, it's $15 an hour through code. So we're trying to build it up a little bit each year versus all at once.
All right. And the budget does reflect bus drivers also, right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Lakonich, on option 3, are we moving 2 all-in Virginia employees, or is it supposed to be 4?
That is correct. Thank you for pointing that out. That was updated on your original. It said 4.
Yeah,
It
because
is
on this it
2.
says 4.
It is 2.
Okay.
That is an option 3, with then 5 going into year 2. So that is important to point out.
That was a catch.
Option 3,
Option 3, you would have 2 all-in Virginia employees.
and then in the second year, we would
You would
have
have the 5.
5.
And- Correct, that you would have to determine funding. And that funding could be continuing in all-in Virginia if there's still funds that carry over, or having that conversation if they need to come into the operating budget. What adjustments would we make within that budget to make that happen?
And then in option 4, would that also be 2
Yes,
on
ma'am.
Yes,
year
ma'am.
1
Yes.
and then 5 in year 2?
Yeah, the only change was the option 3 was that it had stated 4 initially, it should have stated 2.
And I know that we have this document that we have option 2 pay scale and adjusted, and we have option 4. Option 3, if we're looking at that, does that just sort of rank somewhere in between these two?
On the pay scale.
I think this says option
pay
2,
tables that we-
and it's got a pay scale.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I'm not,
I think this document has 2.
2 and 4.
It only
And
has 2
4.
and 4. We didn't.
But I don't think we have
So-
option 3, so I'm just sort of
Option,
assuming.
option 3 is it's color coded, so it's the peach cells. Option 3, doing that 4% would automatically make adjustments where you would gain in those pay areas.
We're talking about the last page,
Yes, ma'am.
and when you say peach darker,
The lighter peach?
the light peach, okay, the light peach would be as a result of what?
Doing the 4%.
The 4%, and the dark peach?
The
or
dark peach is if
orange?
you went with option 4 and did 3% for the administrators, that would free up funding that could be placed to the darker peach pay steps.
Okay, so where there is darker peach,
That would be where you would gain in option 4.
if we did option 3, what color would they be? The dark peach, would they be light peach or no peach?
They would still be blue, we would be behind.
We would be behind with option 3. So in 8 through 11, we would still be behind
Correct,
under option 3.
correct.
You just made this tough.
Sorry.
All right.
Tougher.
Question. So I understand that child nutrition is a separate budget, so increases there in labor and employees are not affecting our operational budget. When I'm looking at page 20 of, I think it's the revenue, there were, I had.
Which
Page 20
document?
of the
Sorry.
budget book, or page 20 of the, okay,
Okay.
the budget book.
Sorry. I'm noticing that on probably the third line up, there's other funds miscellaneous of $437,439. Is that grant monies or what is that from?
Which, I'm sorry. I'm trying to-
It's other local funds, other funds miscellaneous.
So those are the funds that we receive. It'll be your facility rentals. It's going to be your dual enrollment funds. It's several things that get grouped into that category.
Okay. There's a lot of variation there between the years. You've got 82,000, like 2 years previous, and so, okay.
We had some AEP local, the electric bus grants.
Thank you.
That went into those in the prior years, so it really
Okay.
did elevate that to make it look, but this is what a typical year would look like.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. And then, down under child nutrition services, this is still on page 20. It shows, that we have local funds of 329,353. But when we go to the child nutrition, section later on, it says that no local operating funds.
Well, that's, the local funds is just, it's not state, it's not federal, it's rebates they get on food, it's the à la carte that gets put on their account. It's not local operating dollars, just to clarify.
Thank you.
You're
That was
welcome.
very helpful. Okay.
I need to ask the same question.
Okay.
All right, option 1 and option 2 have a 3% pay hike.
Correct.
And if I look at the first page of this, they're all peach.
So if we're doing, with option 1, if we're doing a 3% and the localities are doing a 3%, we're not gaining anything.
There's no change.
So there's no table for that.
We assumed everybody's doing a 3% raise because that's what the state funding is saying, so we just kept everybody getting 3%, so there will be no change. So the color coding there is for option 2.
Option 2.
Okay, so for option 2, it's still a 3% raise.
Correct.
But that puts us ahead in 8 through 11 from locality 2. But when I go to option 3 and 4, well, option 3, it's a 4% increase. But I think you told me that that would not put us ahead in levels 8 through 11.
We made targeted adjustments in option 2, and it may be, I'm not going to look at it again, but option 4 is, option 3 is with
Yes.
a 4% with no targeted adjustments.
That's what it
Just a flat
is.
amount would give you the peach color, the
Yes.
lighter peach.
You're right.
If you do the targeted adjustments, then you would capture those other areas.
I see that now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more question.
Okay.
As we look at this, if the decision we make, we are not being as helpful for the lower or the later phases of our pay scale, I would like, I think you said phase 1, phase 2, for us to keep that in mind and consider that if we are not able to help every level, that we're phasing that in and we make that a priority for next year.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll just add this, just as we get into next year, what I would like to do around October of next year is for us to have either come in an hour or two early or do something and kind of go through your budget priorities. And that way, as we build our budget, into, we get into the meat of building budgets in December and January, then we'll have those priorities from you, so we can work that into our budget. So we did that earlier in the process, so that way we have it before we even start the meat of our work. So that will be my recommendation for next year as we move forward.
Great idea.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I know that in a couple neighboring districts, they have a couple school board members that are a part of the budget committee that meet like quarterly in this development project. So that might be something the board might want to consider.
Okay, board. Any more questions?
Final question.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so when I'm looking at the rankings here, on both pages, in column E, that's not current, that's the rankings after making these changes.
Correct.
Correct. On either of these, do we have our current rankings so that we can see the movement that's being made
We're moving from either fourth or third to second, basically.
in all of those?
Yes.
Oh, that's great, thank you, very helpful. That was really helpful, thank you.
And which option was that?
It looks like in all
Well,
of them.
Any of them that we moved, anywhere you see a 2, for the
Gotcha.
most part, we moved from either fourth in the region or third in the region up to second.
Gotcha.
Where you see a 3, we've gone from fourth in the region to third in the region. So, without going through, we presented that to you, I think, last week. I don't have it in front of me, but,
Yeah.
you can, but it's in the retreat presentation. But that improved us across the board by doing that.
Even just by doing the 3%.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, the 3% by itself would not, the 3% plus the adjustment would. Because we're anticipating that Campbell, Bedford, Appomattox, Lynchburg, they're getting the same funding stream from the state that we're
Everybody's
getting.
getting 3%.
So we're anticipating they're doing 3% as well.
So the ranking in column E is applying to like G,
That
right?
the-
To all of them beyond
Yeah,
that.
right. Well,
Thank
E applies to, again, that's if we do the adjustment to the scale,
Yes,
correct?
great, thank
Under
you.
option 2.
And it may help you if you look at, I'm going back to our peach color, we highlighted what localities, again, we're assuming what they're gonna do, what the other localities are gonna do. It'll tell you, it shows you how many steps. If it's 1, we just went up 1 spot. If it's 2 that are highlighted, then we've passed 2 of them. It'll give you an idea of where it was before.
We just kept the names secret.
Thank you.
Okay. One more. Yes, sir.
Last question for me. We've talked a lot about options 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I just want you to refresh my memory on your favorite.
So if you ask me what I think would be most appreciative by our employees, a 4% raise across the board would be very appreciative by our employees. It would make us more competitive with our local across the board. Option 2, again, does a 3%. It equalizes out the pay scale a little better and the salary adjustments, make it more competitive there. But we're still not as competitive across the board as we would be with option 4. However, again, option 3, excuse me. Option 4 still keeps us competitive with our teachers and other staff, but administrative staff is not as competitive. So if you ask me what will be most best for our entire division as far as being competitive with the neighboring divisions, option 4 makes us, I think, more competitive across the board. Option 3, excuse me. Thank you. Makes us more competitive across the board, but it does end up affecting us more. Again, you're only approving the budget for this year.
Right.
So we have to meet again to look at next year's budgets. Even though we're projecting a deficit for 25, 26, you're not approving a 25, 26 budget, you're approving a 24, 25 budget. So even though we may say in the road we might have some stuff there, we can't budget for that yet because we don't even know what we're getting from the state this year, not us next year. But we're talking 24, 25. So if you ask me what makes us more competitive with our neighboring divisions, option 3 does. So if that's the question, that's how I would answer it.
That's not my question. My question is which of these options do you think, as the superintendent, would best prepare Amherst County to meet the needs for our staff and for our students?
Option 3,
Still option 3?
yes.
Okay.
Board, any more questions? Rolling Stone's final tour here.
So, Mr. Chair, again, the options are y'all can make a decision tonight, if you so choose. If you don't feel your questions have been answered, I would, since we're getting to about close to 20 minutes to 8, I would say you could have the option of coming back tomorrow for further discussion. We have it tentatively scheduled to go at 10 o'clock if you feel you need more conversation. But if you feel you're at a point you can make a decision, then obviously you could do that tonight as well.
Mr. Chair, can I make a recommendation for you to, can we poll the group to see kind of where we are?
Yeah, that's where we were headed.
Can Ms. LaConner make a comment about ADM?
I
Yes.
just wanted to just give you this information, because we had discussed about the ADM, what we're projecting versus what the state, and if our projection holds true, that would be additional funding in this year that possibly we could do something that would then make it better into year 2. So we do have options and things that we can look at to minimize what the ask is going to be for year 2, because I can tell that is everyone's, it's everyone's concern, and ours as well.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Chair, before you
Yes.
poll the board.
Yes.
All right, if we select option 3, does the experience level 8, 9, 10, and 11 remain at a ranking of 2, or does it go down to 3?
It would go down to 3.
Well,
But
53,540, 5276, no, it will remain at 2. It's 2. If you look at 53,540 as the number we're basing it off of, correct? Ms.
But that's
LaConner?
option 4.
That was with option 4, that proposed schedule would.
Okay.
So if a overall 3% raise puts us at ranking 2, why does a 4% across the board not keep us at ranking 2?
The 3%
Oh, the targeted.
was what the targeted. And I could go back and sharpen my pencils and look at those areas again if that's.
You know, we're talking, if you look at the number of staff in those areas, you know, you're in the thousands here, there. You're not talking you're not talking
Tens and hundreds.
tens and hundreds of thousands. You're talking based on the employees we have at those levels and the dollar amounts, you know, to get it up. It might not be up by $100 more, but we can get it above. We may be able to go back and look at that and make those adjustments.
But the difference for the employee is going to be minimal.
It might give them $20, $50, $100, $1,000, you know, a paycheck as opposed to, but we can increase the pay there. We can look at some things there and see if we can play with the numbers a little bit
Yeah.
there to make it.
We could do that.
Yeah, I don't have the number of staff in front of me at each level, but I know Ms. LaConner can, I don't need to pull it right now, but we can
Okay.
figure that out.
Yeah, we can look at that. It was just that some of those steps, it was more than a 1% change.
Okay.
And
But the
so-
employee's still getting 4% over what they have now, so they're still going to see a benefit.
Absolutely,
It's just the
yes.
ranking that we're looking at, and we
Yes.
could address that ranking next year.
When we do their phase 2,
Okay.
we would still go back and look, we'll still look at that, but would include the other steps that we weren't able to address this year.
It's 4% across the board regardless. We're not
Yes.
giving 20 staff members at 3% and, you know, everybody else at 4%. It's just how it ranks us out,
Both of those.
if that makes sense.
Thank you for bearing with me.
Okay. So first, I'd like to ask the board as a whole, would you be prepared to make a decision tonight? Or is there other questions you think you're going to be, before tomorrow at 10 o'clock? And if we think we've had everything answered, the next question is, we'll go down the line and see if we come to a general consensus that we can get a motion toward. So, Mr. Childress, would you like to give us your thoughts?
Based on the feedback that I've gotten tonight, I feel comfortable in making a decision.
Okay, okay,
I can make my decision tonight.
okay. Mr. Rossi?
Absolutely make a decision.
Okay. Ms.
Yes,
Justice?
sir.
Okay. Okay, I'm in agreement. So, all righty, so do we want to kick it off? Someone make a motion for one of these options, and then we can discuss it after there's a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve option 3.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any more discussion amongst the board that we need to have for these, for this motion?
Only I would just like to reiterate my gratitude and thanks for all of the hard work. I know it wasn't easy for you guys to do that. I know we had a lot of tough questions throughout this process, but I hope you understand we're here for the same reason you are. We're really looking to try and make your job easier down the road and making sure that we retain and are able to recruit quality staff. So thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just the same comment. I think we met our objective.
Yes, ma'am.
We were trying to keep our employees happy with compensation, which is important. But we're trying to fill in some gaps of where we fall short in the region. We've done that, and we've tried to maintain positions that keep us where we need to be for instruction. So those were the 3 big objectives. I think that we met those. And I usually go with the recommendation of the superintendent in the past, and they all have a little something, and it's about the something, same, but this covered everybody. I am not about excluding administrators when we do compensation, because they work extremely hard as well. So that would be, and if we went with something else, I'd have to say no, because I think that everyone in our organization needs to have that equal opportunity to rank where they need to be.
Okay.
So I've been pleased with the discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to just say, this feels very collaborative and mutually respectful, and I think we're very blessed in Amherst to have this relationship with our team and our board members.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Dr. Wells?
Thank you, and thank you all. I know it's a tedious process. I appreciate it. I don't think anybody wanted to come here tomorrow, but we were ready for it. I was going to go to Biscuitville and buy some biscuits. But
Well, wait a minute, we can still meet.
if you want to come by and get a biscuit, I'll go buy you one. But seriously, thank you. We will do the fine tuning and get this and the presentation ready for the Board of Supervisors next week and give you a copy with the fine tunes, with the adjustments under option 3, and make sure y'all have that. We'll work on it tomorrow. I don't know if we'll have it ready by tomorrow. It's a lot of work, but we'll have something to you before we go to the board. We have to have it ready by Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So we'll have something for you before then, just to make sure you see it. So thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wells. Thank you, board. Okay. Moving on. 6.0, consent agenda. Board, have you had a chance to look at the consent agenda items?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
may I just make one comment? On the field trip request, is it possible to have them put like the number of students that are going and attending?
We can do that.
I think that would just be helpful.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Wells, moving on to 7.0, 7.01.
So the comprehensive plan. So I believe at your place and on board docs, you have a draft version of the comprehensive plan for your review. This, again, I want to start by thanking my staff up here on the budget work and everybody else involved in that. So Kim, thank you for being taking the machine gun questions tonight before we get into the comprehensive plan. But I also want to thank the staff that worked on the comprehensive plan, and for the board members who volunteered to serve on these teams, on these committees as well, because your input was invaluable and their leadership was invaluable. So we have a draft to you. This is, again, a first read for you. You can take it, read through it. We do have public comments scheduled for April on the comprehensive plan. I would ask that if you have any questions, concerns, comments, I'll put you on the spot again, Mr. Terry, that you push all questions and things like that to Mr. Terry so we can get a concise list versus everybody asking the same questions, we can kind of get it done that way. And then I'll be glad to work on those. Again, if there's things in there that you question or need further clarification on specifically, I'll be glad to meet with any of you regarding that, or the committee individuals, the chair of that committee and myself can meet with you on that. But again, we have the public comment next month, and then depending on your feedback, then we could vote for this either in April or May. We need to have it in place by June 30th. By July 1st, we need to have our plan by code. We have to have a plan in place. So just giving you that feedback. We wanted to give it to you earlier, sooner rather than later. But a lot of hard work went into this, and thank everyone for their efforts.
So Dr. Wells, if I get you stuff by April 5th, is that soon enough?
It'll be fine.
Okay,
Although I'll be on spring break, but yeah, I'll take it.
I understand.
Sure.
That gives you from the 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah, that gives me.
So Board, if you do have any comments to the comprehensive plan, if you could get them to me around April 4th, I'll compile everything for Dr. Wells, please.
Again, and this is the format we want to use for our tracking. Again, we plan on doing a more of a glossy for the public that just kind of more just summarizes a little better. So they won't be getting all the fine details. It'll be available if they want it, but the product we want to give out to the public is going to be a little different looking than what you have in front of you.
Okay. All righty, moving on to 8.01.
All right, so we have administrative. Dr. Hoden is not with us tonight, so turn it over to Mr. Rokes on the construction.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So again, the construction project continues to move forward. A lot of activity in the last month since we've come forward here. Thank you, ma'am. So the one other thing too we were able to do in the past few weeks, Dr. Wells had lined up with Mike Cargill to do some drone shots for us, and I have provided some good footage of the overall site, what's going on. And so this is the overall site, as you can see in the bottom part of the picture, the high school sitting there, the new construction site for the new addition and for the auditorium and cafeteria. And as you continue to look up toward the top of the screen, you'll see the new parking lot at the top of the screen. A couple of things regarding the new parking lot is it's pretty much graded out now. The curbing is getting put in place. They've pretty much finished that as of this afternoon. A little bit left to do there. As you can see, the form has been pulled off in the left picture. This is the walkway between the existing junior lot and the new parking lot where the Burley property was located at too. So that's just some rough stone there right now. The other thing that as we go through these projects, particularly those of you who've been involved in construction projects, things develop as we go. And one of the things that we recognized early off here was the ditch line, didn't show up as bad when it was a wooded lot over there. However, once we cleared that out, we realized quickly we needed to do something. So the picture on the left was the existing ditch line where the drainage ditch runs from the top parking lot. The school runs down through the retention ponds. That's what it looked like after they cleared the lot. And I quickly came to Dr. Wells and Dr. Hoden and said, we've got to do something. We can't have all this new stuff back here and a ditch line looking like that. So with that, we made some changes. The picture on the right is what you see what the ditch line looks like as of today. Actually, it's finished all the way down like that. So the retention pond has been seeded now. This ditch line is corrected all the way down and looks much better between the two parking lots. To give you an idea, we've talked about plans and layouts and things like that. I've showed you some pictures of footers along the way over the last couple of weeks. But to give you an idea, it's truly taking shape. So the cafeteria will be to your left. They haven't started on the footers for that aspect yet. The auditorium, you can see that where the seating is, and I'll give you a close-up shot because they've actually dug out for the auditorium, the lower seats anyway. Then you see the stage and the classrooms on the back side there. As far as the classrooms go, you see the theater classroom is on your left, the choir course classroom is in the middle there, and the band classroom is on your right-hand side. Also on the right-hand side there, right there, I know you can't see from where I'm really sitting at, but there's a roll-up door on the right-hand side of the band where the band students can, as they're getting ready for football games, parades, competitions, whatever it might be, they can take their instruments right out through that rolling door, and they don't have to go through the school or anything like that. Now, so much better access for the band director and the band students as well. As we come back toward the cafeteria side, in the middle part is the stage area. To the left of the stage, so the high school, the existing high school, the gym area, is sitting to the left side of your screen right now. So that first block you see where the footers have been poured out is for a changing area, particularly for the theater group, and they're doing their programs, and it also has a bathroom in there as well for the students and staff during the programs. The center part is a stage, which is about 2 to 3 times larger than an existing stage. And then on the far right-hand side is another storage area for props and general storage. The other thing in the storage area, on the right-hand side there's also a roll-up door that goes from the outside of the building into the storage area and actually up onto the stage. So if we had large props, or if they were doing something that required a vehicle, something like that, you could actually come right from the parking lot right onto the stage and go from there. And then toward the bottom of the screen, you'll see the general seating area for the audience, and that's the 1,400 seats. As I said, here in the last week and a half, they've been digging out for the auditorium seats, and you see roughly the rough grade in the top picture on the left, and then the bottom right, the panning shot there is what the seats look like now. They've actually started pouring footers for the wall. They poured those footers today for the front part of the stage as well. And of course, the block, or a concrete masonry unit, is what the construction guys call it. I was like, it's just block. So anyway, I happened to be there. Like I said, my office is no longer on Union Hill. It's at 139 Lancer Lane. So anyway, I was out there the morning that the first load of block came in, unloaded the sand and all the stuff from M&H Masonry. And this is actually the first block that was laid on the new addition. So as we grow older, and as we, talk about this to the people who come behind us, the very first block that was laid is in the corner down next to where the existing transformer is, next to where the driving tower used to be. So as you look around, you come up to the building, that is the very first block being laid about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And they've made great access there. What the game plan is, the masonry group will lay these walls, they get 2 to 3, 4 courses up, and then they're going to probably leave the site for a little bit of time. They'll come in and do some more work, actually pour the concrete floor pads, and once that's done, then they'll start the vertical sections with the block and brick and those type of things, which is supposed to start sometime mid to late April. The baseball complex, looking out, again, a great shot of looking out into what's going back there. What I want to show in this picture was, if you hadn't ever noticed in the past, on the outfield out there where the outfield lights are, that whole bank was really neglected for a number of years. It was overgrown, taking over a lot of things. And Mr. Kerr, the athletic director, and Dr. Wells said, even when I came on board, one of the first things he said is, can we do something with this? And it's a monumental task. Fortunately, we've been able to incorporate that into the project. Again, we've logged that area, and the funds we were generated from that logging didn't cost us anything. We generated funds from that, and with that, we've been able to reinvest it back into this to help clean that area up, along with some other things along the way. But it's much nicer now that that's gone. The Hardy Star that you see at the top of the corner, it's not a Hardy's biscuit. It is the location of the new proposed field house. So that is where that's going to be located at. And again, if you look in the picture, you can see how much cleaner and better it looks on the backside. We haven't completely finished back there yet, but it's continued to make its improvement. Up again, as far as the field house goes, we continue to fine tune the cost on that and get things laid out to hopefully start construction sometime late summer. We still got to do all the civil work and that aspect of that, so that's still in the developmental phase. And then another end of another day. When Mike took these pictures from the drone, I thought it was a great shot, the sun coming up, or setting rather, on the school and the construction project, and the opportunities that you and the Board of Supervisors and everybody has made available. So we continue to do great things at the high school to make it happen and get this project going, and we're excited about where it'll be. And next several weeks we'll have more pictures and updated for you where we're going to be at. And I'll take any questions as far as the construction of the high school goes.
Board, any questions?
So, just real quickly, so on time, on budget, any other issues cropping up, any unknowns?
No, sir. Little minor things here and there, but nothing that we haven't been able to work through. Schedule-wise, we may be like a day or two off, but again, we meet every 2 weeks, and we met with the architect and the GC, the general contractor, this past Wednesday. None of us are concerned about schedules right now because we're so early on the project, and we're right on track where we need to be. So we're great there. Cost-wise, we're okay, and so as long as we keep on this trend, we love this weather we're having right now. I know next week's a little bit cooler, but the rain has held off for us. That's got us on a couple of days, but again, I think the exciting part will be coming in the next few weeks where we start pouring concrete with the floors, and once that comes up, then you'll be able to see the block and the brick walls, and the salt lick take a look like a structure. So we're in good shape there.
So at your place, you'll have the 3-week schedule from next 3 weeks. And then she'd also have the entire project schedule, which goes out to September of '26. So you should have this at your place. You can kind of see what's scheduled for when and so forth. So we want to make sure you have that. And every 2 weeks, they update this when we have our meetings. And I can update that we can bring those to you every month to make sure you are tracking that.
So last question on that, just so long-term items that like CT cabinets, HVAC equipment, all that, you guys are already thinking ahead and getting that stuff ordered because many of those things are 15, 20 months out.
Every bit of a lead time. Like I said, we've already ordered HVAC equipment already.
Okay.
And we did that a month and a half ago. And we're purchasing that ourselves to help save some money. We're working obviously with the contractor, but we purchased that through the school system in order for us to save the taxes and those type of things, and also the surcharge from the contractor. So we are looking through those and getting. We're staying. We're letting the general contractor lead the ball game, say that you need to be doing this at this time. So we're going through those processes, working with the GC on that and making sure that happens so we avoid delays as far as that goes.
Okay.
Like I said, one of the things we're looking at, they had tried looking at actually trying to look at renovating the welding shop this summer to get to hit the ball game, but exactly what you talk about, Mr. Childress, as far as electrical equipment and things like that, we can't, they just can't, no matter what you do right now, you can't get it in that length of time, so.
12 to 15 months minimum.
Every bit of it. So we waited, 12 months for a chiller that's coming up, start up next Wednesday. So feel the pain.
Thank you.
Board, anything else?
The only other thing that we have to report on tonight is the construction grant, and the response is the same. We have not heard anything. So we don't know anything on the construction grant. Obviously, as soon as we do, we'll pass on to you, but no new information there. Thank y'all.
No new information still means it's possible.
That is correct.
We haven't been told we're not getting it.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're
But
still in
either-
the ball game, still on the playing field.
That's
But
right.
no one else in the state has either, so it's just where we were waiting. What we're speculating is, I've heard the Board of Education wants to have some conversation about this, and they don't meet till the end of this month. So hopefully sometime in April, we'll hear something.
Okay. Thank you very much. 8.0.
8.02 is student suspensions for February, so if you have any questions, I'll try to answer. If not, we'll move on.
Okay. Board, anything? Okay, moving on to 9.01.
Okay, finance, Ms. Lakonich again.
You're on a hot seat tonight.
Did you? No? Here.
You ran another battery dead.
She talked so much, she wore it out.
I took the batteries out. Just kidding. Okay, so tonight, we are now discussing the current year and the February financial reports. So you have your normal revenue expenditure reports for both the school operational and child nutrition, the local receipts, your object code summary, and then the attendance report. So you can look and see how we monitor each month the ADM. The normal topics, it's really an uneventful report tonight, but then the topics that I usually hit is sales tax, utilities, fuel. We're looking okay on everything. Honestly, the March sales tax is the best it's been this entire year, so I thought that was promising, and we'll just continue to monitor. Do you have any questions?
Board, any questions for Ms. Lakonich? We didn't hit her pretty hard already tonight, but so, that's right.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, 10.01. That's right.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have a couple things on the agenda tonight. The first thing is an accountability update, which you have a memo on board docs that talks about the new Virginia Department of Education support framework. And just to give you some information, we brought this to you probably in August when they put in the process that they were going to use, and it's different from what has been done in the past. In the past, schools that only were identified in federal or state accreditation issues were required to submit plans or needs assessments or comprehensive improvement plans to the state, and had to develop them for the division. Now the state requires every school in the entire state who is a public entity to provide, to create a comprehensive plan, and it is called a support plan. With that also comes a needs assessment, and every division is now required to have one. So this goes into effect next school year. We have to have everything in place by the end of June. We have an April meeting, and then we also have benchmarks along the way. So we actually met with our principals on Monday and reviewed all the information. Dr. Wells, Ms. Wheeler, Natalia Cecil, myself, Mr. Neighbors, we've been working through the process of what that actually looks like for our principals, knowing that in previous years, you would end out the school year, get your information from the state regarding your data. They would bring it back in August, and everything would be finalized through the state, and then they wouldn't give you any information or what they expected until October. So you really were 3 or 4 months behind, and you should have been able to hit the ground running on day one. In Amherst, for the last multiple years, we have always hit the ground running based on what our data says, but now the state, they've gotten a better idea, and they're backing everything up to where our comprehensive plans and our division needs assessment and everything is due to the state by July 1, so that we actually can have an actual product to start the school year off with, which is great because we'll be meeting with teachers and leadership throughout the summer, so that will be helpful. It is a different model. In previous years, it's only been academics that has been reviewed, academics, and then last 2 years, it's been chronic absenteeism. But here it is 4 different prongs of the approach, and it is academics, of course. They added in a new section for professional learning supports, which is all of our professional development. In academics, Ms. Wheeler is heading up that subcommittee. Professional learning and supports is headed up by Ms. Smith. Staffing support, so we have to actually discuss hard-to-fill positions, critical shortage, licensure, all of the things that happen within a building as well as in a division. So Mr. Gallagher will be heading up that subcommittee. And then the school climate supports, which really is about our discipline and our chronic absenteeism, and Dr. Petrone will be heading up that. So it is a huge change for us as a division, a change for us in regards to the state. And we have a timeline at the very end. We have already started working on this. Throughout the month of March, we've compiled information in regards to our division needs assessment, telling the state specifically where we think our gaps and our holes are and where we need some support. We will do in March, that 3rd week, instructional rounds 3, which the instructional team will go back into the school building and meet with groups of teachers and content areas that are truly struggling this year that we need some support for. April and May, the division will handle consultations with the building administrators and their leadership teams to kind of form up where they think that they need to be at the end of the school year and what they want to work on next year. We'll do meetings all through the month of May in regards to their data, their needs assessment, and the support plan. actually writing that for the schools. So we take one thing off of those administrators and teachers because that's right in the middle of testing. And so that's a huge thing that the staff up here is going to take care of for them so that they can concentrate on kids in the building and what they need to finish out the school year. And then, of course, June, Dr. Wells and the committee will review all the plans, and by July 1, we submit those to the state, and then and we start the process all over again. Do you have any questions? I know that was a lot. You can go to the Virginia Department of Education website and pull up their Office of School Quality, and it gives you all the specifics in regards to it. But this was just really just a brief overview of it.
Okay. Board, any questions for Dr. Norman? Thank you, Dr. Norman.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on our agenda for instruction, I'd like for Ms. Wheeler to talk to you about Just Right Reader. It's a pilot program that Dr. Wells had brought to our attention that we're implementing. And then she's going to introduce our Bridges Showcase this month. Ms. Wheeler?
Thank you, Dr. Norman. Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you again for allowing me to speak to you tonight. As Dr. Norman said, I first want to talk to you about a pilot program that we are doing at Central Elementary, Madison Heights Elementary, and Amelon Elementary, specifically with some of our first grade students. As Dr. Norman said, we received the opportunity to participate in this pilot through the Virginia Association of School Superintendents. Dr. Wells brought us this opportunity back from a session that he attended. And we're excited because this pilot provides our first graders in those 3 buildings an opportunity to build an at-home decodable library. And so these books that are decodable are specific to these students. We were able to use some of our mid-year PALS data of where our students were instructionally. And this program actually allows a selection of decodable books to be assigned to a student based on their specific needs, which is super exciting for a teacher to be able to have access to these decodables to use in the classroom for small group instruction. And then that set of books goes home in that little blue backpack that each student receives and gets to go home, so that by the end of our pilot, every student participating in the program has a set of 30 decodable books specific to them where they are instructionally that they can then read at home with their parent. And so one of the neat things, we talk about wanting to engage our parents and families and student learning, and the decodable books actually include, every book, a QR code on the back for the parent to scan, have a quick 2-minute video on what that phonics feature is in order to help their student apply that. It's available in both Spanish and English, so it's helping support our English learners as well. And so we're just super excited about this opportunity to be able to support phonics in the classroom, but also at home with our families. And very excited, too, about the way that our administrators in each of those buildings and those teachers are building an excitement about learning to read. And so you can see that Madison Heights tomorrow is doing a Dogs, Donuts, and Decodables kickoff with their first graders, inviting those families in to be able to open their little personalized blue package that is delivered to the student. For them, it comes with their name on it. They open it up and get to see the contents inside. Amelon next week is doing a Donuts and Decodables, and then Central is doing a Donut Stop Reading incentive and kind of program as well. So I think donuts and books sound like a good match, at least in Amherst County. But I would encourage you, if you're available for any of those opportunities, to go by, see the excitement of our students as they get to open up books and take those home to read with their families. So I'm going to ask Ms. McNerney if she'll click the video. Our building admin actually were able to work with the company to do a little promotional video to send home to families to let them know about the program.
Hello, families. I'm Ron Prophet, principal of Central Elementary School.
Hi, I'm Jerry Hutchinson. I'm the principal of Madison Heights Elementary.
Hi, I'm Leah Gray, and I'm the principal at Amelon Elementary School.
And we're excited to bring you a new program that's going to tell you how you can help support your child at home to become a stronger, more confident reader.
There's a lot of research about the science of reading, and the best thing that you can do with your child is read together at home.
Your child has been given a packet of Just Right Reader decodable book just for them.
When learning how to read, your child needs lots of practice. You need to make sure that you are doing the things that it takes at home to use Just Right Reader books, because they will strengthen your students' phonics skills and help them to accelerate their reading achievement.
These books were specifically chosen for your child. They're fun, colorful, and tell stories that gets kids excited about reading.
Plus, every book comes with a short and a fun video that teaches a phonics skill. Just scan the QR code on the back of the book to watch the video in English or Spanish.
You also need to make sure you have your child keep their Just Right Reader backpack full of books and bring the power of reading everywhere that they go. When you're waiting in line or on the bus or at the park or wherever you are, even before you go to bed, make sure you're using this great package so it will help them to become a better reader, because every bit of reading counts.
All of us can't wait to hear about how your child loves their favorite book. Happy reading.
Okay, so I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about that before we transition to our next topic.
Board, any questions?
They're donuts?
Yes, right.
If you show up in one of those three buildings, I promise that you'll have a tasty donut waiting for you.
I would just encourage, if you have time, to stop by one of those. I think, just to take a look at it and see what's happening. I want to try to get out as many as I can, but I would encourage the board, if you can do that, that's fine. You don't have to let me know you're going. Just if you show up, we know you're there. So just appreciate you coming.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Do you have a sample book with you? I'd love to see one.
I sure do. Okay, so we're going to transition, if there are no other questions, to Bridge. And before I introduce Ms. Leah Gray, I wanted to take the opportunity just to let the board know that our division recently had the opportunity to submit a proposal to present a tabletop presentation at the upcoming Virginia Association of Superintendents Conference about our utilization of the All-In Virginia funding, specifically in regards to our implementation of our tutoring program, Building Bridges to Success. So we are super excited to say that we were selected as a division to participate and present on April 22nd in Roanoke. And can't wait to share about how our staff has been using our tutoring program to meet the needs of our students with our science hands-on activities, but also how our students have been able to benefit from this experience. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Ms. Leah Gray, our principal at Amelon Elementary School, who is going to talk about the Bridge program in her building and how her students have been able to utilize this time to support the students at Amelon.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, good evening. I'm thankful that I am not Kim Lukanich tonight. I have something that's much more enjoyable to talk about, and one thing that I just want to point out is if you look at the pictures that we've included in the presentation, one of the things that I enjoyed looking at was just the awe on the kids' face as they do all of these various activities. At Amelon, as other schools have also presented, we are truly all in. For our Bridge program, we have all hands on decks. We have teachers, student support services such as our Title I team, our special education team, our EL teachers. Our hearing and impaired teacher is not at Amelon every day, but she will stop by and say, how can I help with Bridge today? Or the school counselor is involved, our instructional assistants, our child nutrition staff, our office staff, and our custodians. We're truly all in and working with our students. We currently have 32 total lead teachers that are K-5 working as tutors. 11 of them are our K-2 teachers. We have 2 for our 3 through 5 extend groups and 19 3-5 teachers. So this year we have been using our Bridge time to make school-wide connections, support our 45-day plan, And we've even been able to bring in some cultural connections through Bridge. One of the most exciting ways we were able to extend the Bridge learning experience beyond Bridge time was to incorporate having a planetarium come into the school. And so the week prior to our Bridge lesson on the sun, moon, and stars, the planetarium came, and Mr. Chris Grubbs had worked on developing specific programs for our students. So during this activity, we aligned multiple SOLs across history, language arts, and science, and all of our students, K through 5, were able to experience a 30-minute program that was specifically designed for that grade level. Our kindergarten and first grade students had a program that went in and reinforced letter sounds, alphabet knowledge, and creative thinking through I Spy games. That was called ABCs of the Stars. Our second and third grade students were engaged in a Native American star stories, and that tied in really nicely with how they incorporated the Native American culture, how Native Americans used the stars for their calendar, for weather prediction. And then 3 through 5 enjoyed the life of a star and our sun, which looked deeper into the planets, how they are in location compared to the sun, Earth, contrasting sizes, characteristics, seasons, how the Earth is tilted on its axis at different times, and how the sun and the stars, impact all of that. I will tell you, the hardest part of this whole experience was for all of the teachers and the adults that had to crawl into the planetarium. But it was truly a great experience. I went in with a first grade group, and it's pitch black in there, so you can imagine the teacher's horror at supervision at this point. But it was great because the students were totally enraptured. And one of them even said, "Wow, look at all the stars." They were just totally amazed. I even had a fourth grade student stop me in the hall, and he said, "Miss Gray, it was so awesome. You could see the entire Milky Way. I didn't even know we were that small," talking about Earth. So they were able to really take away some things from there and relate it back to the Science Bridge lesson on photosynthesis and other lessons that they've been taught throughout the school year. So after spring break, we have met at Amelon and PLCs with teachers, and we are making a few shifts so that we can start focusing on SOL prep. My teachers have done a fabulous job of working in PLCs to look at our mid-year growth data, to look at the diagnostic data that we've used in the Bridge program through iExcel, Zern, Lexia, and really dig down into that individual student data and our subgroup data. And they have developed plans for all the tutors participating to identify individual student needs and address them. So after spring break, we are working on regrouping those students according to that data. And then my content teachers, for example, my 3rd and 4th and 5th grade math teachers, are providing specific math skills for those individual students to the other tutors, and then also working with those tutors so they're very aware of the SOL strategies that we need to use so we're consistent. And that is all integrated into our 45-day plan. So it's been fun. Any questions?
Questions, board?
Thank you. I also, really quick, want to thank Ms. Watkins for coming. She knows I do not like public speaking, so she has been my moral support tonight.
Next, we have Mr. Gallagher. Excuse me, Mr. Neighbors. I want to jump ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. Neighbors for Student Services.
I don't know if I can follow the planetarium, but I'll do my best. That's right. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Each year, you as a board approve assurances and certifications related to the 6B annual plan. I asked Dr. Wells if I could come back this evening and have a few minutes of your time to provide a little more context around that annual plan for Title 6B, what that application looks like, specifically how those funds are utilized. So at your place, I provided you a memo that outlines the key components of our Title 6B annual plan that we submit to the state each year. We submit it to the state because what we're asking for, what are referred to as flow-through dollars. So they're coming from the federal government through the Virginia Department of Ed to us here at Amherst, like every other school division. I do want to highlight, and probably the most important word in that first paragraph is the word supplement. These funds that we get are intended to supplement what we do here in the division, those state and local dollars that are utilized to support our special education programming for identified students. We do serve students age 3 through 22, so we have quite a span of kiddos that we work with each and every day in the division in a bunch of different settings. But ultimately, what we do is outline how we feel like those funds would be best utilized. And as you might imagine, the vast majority of that money goes towards staff, those individuals that are actually in the classroom in these various settings, working directly with students, providing those supports and services. So just over 95% of that funding is dedicated towards staff. A little bit of that 95% is carved out for contracted services. So there are incidents, there are times where we're not able to fill some of those more difficult positions. I will tell you that's becoming increasingly difficult. In recent years, colleges just aren't putting out graduates that have those certifications, thinking about speech pathologists, teachers that are endorsed with a vision endorsement, teachers that are of the deaf and hard of hearing. As Ms. Gray was referencing earlier, we are very blessed and fortunate in Amherst to have most, if not all of those positions filled on an annual basis. But the vast majority of divisions in our area are contracting for multiple positions every year. Currently, we're only contracting for one. So we feel pretty fortunate to be in that position. So I have provided a little background on that information. In addition to staffing and contracted services, we do have other areas that we support. So a lot of those peripheral expenses that come with operating a program like this, there are a lot of resources needed for the classrooms, a lot of certifications that we help folks work towards if that may be needed. We do provide professional development that's very targeted based around programs that we have selected or those required by the state in certain instances. But ultimately trying to utilize those funds as much as possible to go towards actual hands in the classroom working with students. In addition to those components, as a part of that annual plan, there are a couple areas that we verify with the state that we're doing what we're supposed to, for lack of a better phrase. First and foremost, our relationship with the Blue Ridge Regional Jail Authority, because we have that facility here in the county. We have responsibilities for child find. We still have to make sure if there are identified individuals in that facility, we are going in and providing services that would be appropriate to continue to help them meet their academic goals. That has dwindled considerably since COVID. So prior to COVID, we usually had anywhere between 5 and 8 individuals in that facility that we were servicing every year. More recently, we really haven't had many at all. So ultimately, that's a relationship we still maintain, but that isn't something that represents a lot of service provision on our part at this point. In addition to that, we provide information around proportionate set aside. So that is the monies and resources that we have literally set aside for students that are participating either through homeschool in a private school here in Amherst County, but are eligible, have been found eligible under IDEA and still require those supports and services. So we work with each of those individual families to make sure that we're accounting for those and providing whatever support they may need. Finally, and most importantly, we have to report, and I work very closely with Ms. Lakonich on this, our maintenance of effort. So again, these being supplementary funds, we have to assure that we are continuing to spend at a rate, continue to resource at a rate that we have year over year. So there are certain reasons why we might be able to pull those monies back a certain year beyond the previous year. But in general, we need to keep up that spending, keep up those resources to ensure that we're providing high quality programming for our students. So that is a 35-page document that I condensed into about 2 minutes of talking there. Hopefully that was clear, but I would certainly be happy to answer any questions you have. And if you all are able to review this document and have any questions going forward, we'd be happy to sit down and answer anything you might have at that point.
Okay. Board, any questions for Mr. Neighbors? Thank you, Mr. Neighbors.
Thank you all.
Moving on.
Mr. Chair, next we have Human Resources, Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the first thing we have this evening from HR is the vacancy memo for the current month. So you can see where we are. All of these represent vacancies that are either current or for the coming school year. You can see that in the professional positions, we have 21 listed. 7 of those are currently unfilled or vacant positions for this school year, but in total, there's 21. We have 10 Class 5 positions currently vacant, and we continue to move and shake on a daily basis, trying to get these filled. There's actually been a couple of changes on this. We should have only 1 listed under physical education because the high school is filled for the coming school year. And in the school counselor position, we have made an offer and it's been accepted for temperance for the counseling position, so that would go down to 1. We have interviews ongoing, so there's 3 possibilities for offers being made tomorrow for a few positions, 2 English and 1 elementary. So it's a very fluid process, and we're actively engaged in recruiting and trying to entice some individuals to come here and join our team. What you don't have at the bottom of there, I did make some notes about letters of intent that we've currently offered for positions for next year. So currently we have 14 letters of intent, meaning that people have accepted offers for positions for next year. None of the ones listed here, but we have 9 elementary teachers that have accepted offers for next year, 2 math, 1 English, 1 science, and 1 school counselor. So that's very hopeful, but you can see we still have work to do. So we're excited that we have recruiting events coming up in the near future. Next Tuesday, I believe it is, we're going to be at Liberty. We'll be the sponsor division at that recruiting event. We'll have a team of 6 there. We'll have name recognition throughout the career fair, which is one of the biggest. It's the biggest in the region, and it's one of the biggest in the state. And we'll have an excellent site right there, the first booth as folks come in, and rooms to interview and so forth. So we're really hoping that goes well. We have a great team going. Ms. Smith is going along with me as well. And we also have the U of L Career Fair coming up on the 27th. A little bit smaller, but still important. So they continue to, I think they're growing a little bit over where they were in the last few years as far as their pool of candidates. So that's just some of the details that go along with the vacancy memo, but I'll take any questions that you all might have.
Board, any questions for Mr. Gallagher? Yes, sir,
Yeah,
Ms. Childers.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
On the instructional assistant, do we have, and if we don't have, we considered asking, see if we have any bus drivers that would be interested in being instructional assistants?
We have in the past had bus drivers who have asked if they could fill in during periods of the day part-time, either in nutrition or instructional assistant, whatever they can do, custodial at times. It's never a permanent full position. So typically we actually have had individuals that have worked part-time, filled in for several hours during the day to help fill a need and to gain additional hours.
I know of other school divisions who do that. I know Louisa does that, where we have bus drivers who also work as IAs.
Absolutely.
So it's a added benefit because it gives them the additional hours and additional pay.
Right.
And it helps us to fill a needed position. So just something to consider.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
All right, thank you, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. What you have in front of you is a memorandum that explains in detail about our professional development plan that we are utilizing for this school year. The goal is to develop professional development that's aligned with ACPS mission and vision and meets identified division needs for professional growth for our staff. These are just the highlights. If you recall, at the retreat, I gave a detailed listing with also links to the actual material to give you more background on all the topics covered for varied positions, as well as division leadership. And I will take any questions that you might have about this document.
Board, any questions for Ms. Smith?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just explain briefly how our teachers, when they go through the professional development, I know that they can get credit for, recertification. Are there other things that they receive, or do they receive that for all of our PD?
For all the PD that we developed through a Canvas course and we did at the beginning of the year, they did receive recertification points, and certificates were allotted for them for that. They get 1 point per hour of professional development, and they also get a slew of resources that are linked to it. One of the reasons why we put it in the Canvas course is for easy access to go back and review and get the materials in one location without searching through Google Drive or emails.
So even though they may be doing that on their time after school, that's convenient, because I think sometimes you can do it at one time or another, they're still receiving credit for that.
Yes, and
One credit per hour.
some of them are required while others are optional.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Questions, board? Thank you, Ms. Smith. Okay. Moving on, Dr. Wells, 13.0.
All right, so now we have our student reps. Lily and John, we thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Guess what? You only have 2 more of these to go before you graduate. You realize that?
Wow.
You thought we'd never get here,
That is crazy.
isn't it? So the floor is yours.
Good evening, school board members and Mr. Chair. Things have been staying very busy as we are approaching the end of the school year. Currently in welding, our teacher is out for medical reasons, but we are still getting ahead in our bookwork. And the other day, Mr. Presnell and Mr. Maddox came so that we could weld in the shop, because we have, it's a competition called Welding Wars. And so we have to turn in a weld to Mr. J and Mr. Presnell, and then they decide which people get to go to Welding Wars. And other than that, show choir, we've been crazy busy. We performed at the first annual all-county chorus. It was a great way to connect through music and it was fun to watch how important music is in everyone's lives from elementary school to high school. The following Friday and Saturday, the Bells of Amherst and the Amorecos had their first competitions of the season at Thomasdale High School. The Bells did an amazing job, especially this competition was a lot of the Bells' first competition ever, and the Amorecos did great. They took home second place in the AAA division in the People's Choice Award. Our own principal even made his way out to Richmond to watch us, which was super special, and we thank him for coming. This upcoming Saturday, both groups will be traveling all the way to Martinsburg High School in West Virginia to compete. We hope to do well, but most importantly, stay safe and have fun, because it's going to be a very long weekend. Following up from CTE month last month, a lot of our CTE programs had special projects they worked on to highlight the importance of their courses. For example, cosmetology had students staying after school 1 day a week to practice doing hair on real people, and one of the econ and personal finance classes made piggy banks while learning about the importance of savings. March 2nd was Reading Across America Day, and some of our athletes from the high school visited Manellison Middle School to read some of their favorite childhood books, and even participated in bridge class with students, some wishing they had bridge class in middle school. This past month we celebrated SRO Appreciation Day, and we thank them all for all they do for us and protect us. And they're always a friendly face just to see in the hallway and talk to. March is Women's History Month, and we celebrate the role women have and will always have in our society. We appreciate the accomplishments and achievements of every woman in the world. This month is also Youth Art Month. We celebrate the importance of art in schools, whether it helps someone with mental health, or it's a way that students express themselves, or even just something fun to do to pass the time. This is all that I have for tonight. Thank you.
So Lily, before you move on, I was told there was like a 508 tie in welding, and
Yes.
you're one of the 5 in the 5.
I don't know.
That's what I've been told. And y'all held a weld off on Monday?
Yes.
Yeah, so good luck.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good evening. I hope you all have been doing great since the last time we met. Obviously, as we all know, the school year is coming up to an end, and our seniors are hard at work, enrolling at colleges and filling out different scholarships that are available. I myself have enrolled by my future home by the sea, Hampton University. So I was glad to finally get that off my chest. Day of Giving is coming up at the end of this month, so this is a great opportunity for our students at the high school to give back to our community. And there will also be a few new organizations that are going to participate throughout the community. Today, I took a visit to Manelson Middle School, my former middle school. I do not have pictures this time. I forgot to take pictures. But the next school I'll go to, I'll be sure to have pictures. Mr. White informed me of some events going on at the school, like soccer and track officially starting, and how the robotics team has been shooting rockets. One thing he informed me about is how they were working to improve attendance. And one way they were doing this is by implementing incentives where students would turn in attendance records at the end of the week or at the start of the week to receive a prize. Also at lunch, they had math equations on this board, like to the right of the lunchroom, where each grade could go in and they answer the question, and if they get it right, they turn it in and they get entered into a raffle for a prize. Also for Day of Giving, they've scheduled for the cosmetology class from the high school to go up there and do nails and hair for the female staff members and some of the girls in the classes. So that'll be great. Overall, it was just nice to see that the staff is just so hard at work and they're steadily coming up with creative ways to keep the students involved. So I was very glad to see that. At the high school, spring sports have got going. Baseball has opened up with 2 strong wins at home. They will be looking to continue that win streak tomorrow night against Nelson. Softball will also be playing at home, and they'll be looking for their first win of the season. Soccer has not had a game yet, boys or girls, but they have been hard at work, and both of them will open up Monday against Nelson. The girls will be playing away, and the boys will be playing at home. So hopefully throughout the season, I'll see some of you guys there supporting our Lancers, and just letting them know we're there for them throughout this season. But that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. So when is the Day of Caring?
The Day of Giving is March 29th. That's the Friday before spring break. There's also our next scheduled show-up day where we have show-up activities across the division too.
Gotcha.
So we'll have seniors, don't have numbers yet, but we'll have our high school students going out to all of our schools, as well as community organizations and groups and places across the community throughout the day doing public service.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay. Dr. Wells.
All right, so
You now.
for superintendent matters, thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I want to start with something really positive since we just talked about art and everything else over here. Cameron Fairhurt, who is a student at Amherst County High School, he submitted a piece of art to the VSBA art contest for the Southern region, and I'm proud to say that he won for our regions. He was first place. His art will be on display for a year at the VSBA offices, as well as going out across the state. And he also, I can't remember how much money he gets. He gets a little gift certificate for this too. So we want to congratulate him, and we plan on bringing him in front of the board later on this year. So once we just found this out last night, so we want to congratulate him.
Cool.
All right. So as we go on, I sent y'all an email today, and it came up during senior staff this morning. I just want to get it in front of you just to get your input on it. But there was we missed 3 days for smoke and a couple of days for snow, and people are talking about the mild winter. Our SOL testing and things like that are pushed so far back. And we get in May. I really have a hard time suggesting or recommending any change to the end of the school year. However, it was brought to our attention that, as Ms. Gray said earlier tonight, that the transition from the bridge materials we provide into the more teacher-based instruction for the 45 minutes of bridge time after spring break. Some teachers may appreciate a work day on that Monday after spring break. I am 50-50 on it. Personally, I see the benefits of that. I see the benefits of having the students in school. So I will not give you a recommendation because I can't give you one. I mean, I think our staff would probably appreciate it, but I also know we've just had a week off for spring break. That is the day of the eclipse, and the issues I brought forward to you in the previous communication of the eclipse was the eclipse gets to its peak at about 3:16 when all of our secondary students are either on the bus or driving home, and will they wear their glasses? I don't know. We have brought glasses for everybody to wear. It could be a great day for elementary because we'll still have elementary students in school to be able to have those conversations with elementary students and see the eclipse if it's not raining. My other concern is that, we alter schedules and do different things and it rains all day and it's cloudy and doesn't make any difference anyway. So it was brought to my attention. I thought I'd bring it to the board, and the reason it's coming to you tonight is because the 8th is before our next school board meeting. So if you were inclined to adjust the schedule, I think that is something our teachers would benefit our teachers, but also understand that we just had a week of break and we need to put students in the classroom as well. So I can understand both sides of the equation, but I did want to bring it to your attention. If you so decide to act, that is fine. If you choose not to, that is fine as well.
Okay. Board, your thoughts?
Mr. Chair, I just want to add that I did have some staff contact me and ask if we would consider the last day of school, giving that back to them because of the extra time. I told them I would share that with you, so this is me sharing that with you. And I think that Dr. Wells alluded to that, as well as the April 8th
Yes, ma'am.
date. So just wanted to, no, I don't believe so, but I just wanted to make sure that they knew I had relayed that request to you. And then Dr. Wells is also presenting another option for April 8th. Not both of them, but one or the other.
So let's stick with the 8th for now. I guess I'm curious as to what the board thinks.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I think in the email, there was some reference to it could be helpful for our teachers to plan and prepare for remediation activities.
Correct.
And
Our 45-day plans are in effect. They really kick in high gear after spring break as we prepare for SOL testing. So it would give them a day that we would not take from them and make them do division level training, but they could actually sit there with their PLC teams and really focus on grouping students and working on lesson plans and those activities. But so that would be a benefit. I think majority of them would benefit from it. But again, I also understand where we are in the big equation too.
would it be taking away a day of instruction for the students?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank
Joseph,
you.
do you have something?
Yeah, I was just thinking, so our teachers are contracted for a number of days. So where does that put us in number of days if we were to?
They'd be working, so it's not an issue of contracted days of staff.
Well, I'm saying if we don't give it to them, because we didn't miss days, right? Because we anticipate missing some days. Does that potentially put us over
No, sir.
contracted days? Okay.
No, sir. Looking at again, we go above and beyond the minimum. The minimum is 990 hours. We budget in well more than that for the year. This would put us, if we gave them something on April 8th, it would mean we have 21.1 additional days we could use if a disaster hit or something like that. So we are okay. Hours-wise, we're in the bonus. But that being said, it is a day of instruction. But it also may benefit instruction the next 2 to 3 weeks after that day because they've had more time to plan and prep and do that type of work too. So that's a 50-50. That's why.
So I know you said you didn't want to give a recommendation, but I'm going to press you on that. I've had a couple conversations with teachers.
Yeah.
I think I know what some of the teachers would like to see us do.
Yes, sir.
Mike? Okay. So we've been in the schools on our intervention and collaborative supports where we've met with every teacher, 3rd through 5th, reading and math, and then high school and middle schools in reading and math and science. And one of the biggest things that has come out of every single meeting has been teachers asking just for time for collaborative teams that don't get common planning to be able to sit with each other and really talk about student groups and what strategies and interventions they're using with them, and then to develop those. They've got their 45-day plans, but to really hit on the instructional regrouping and strategies that they want to use for the next 3 weeks to then prep them. So if you want me to advocate to tell him what I think we need to do, our teachers are asking for it. I think it would be beneficial for our teachers to come together as PLCs, and on PLCs they only have 45 minutes at a time. This, they can have multiple hours to sit and really talk and develop lessons together, and that's very rare for them to be able to do unless they do it before school or after school.
So if you're asking, I would say a work day would be beneficial to our staff.
I can see that myself.
And when does SOL start testing?
AP exams start the first week in May, and then we start May 7th.
May what?
May 7th.
Mr. Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. With the time that has been spent in Bridge, has that cut into our teacher planning time?
No, ma'am.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, board? Okay, do you need a motion or consensus?
Since it's a change in the school calendar, that's the board's calendar, so y'all would need to make a
motion.
Okay, I guess a consensus would work, but I just need your approval to do it.
Okay. Board, I'm looking for another question?
Quick question. When did the 45-day plan start?
They started February the 26th. It's been 2 weeks. They've been in the process of it.
Board, I'm just curious, we're looking for a consensus. I hear the teachers. I would like to offer that day. So I'll go down the line. Ms. Thompson?
Well, I think 20 days before the SOL test. I think every day of instruction is valuable, and I think that everybody out there would agree. I always push for that. We need our students in the building to learn. If your expert opinion is that our students will benefit more from a day of planning, I'll support that. But I'm hesitant, but I trust.
Ms. Ligon?
Yeah, kind of 50-50, 40-60 something, but, you know, I want to make everybody all the pieces, so add another day to the spring break. But justified by what you said, the PLC committee, well, when would they do that if we didn't give this day?
They would not. It would
Ever?
Well,
They would have their 45 minutes, their
Planning.
scheduled planning time to get together. This would just give them a unencumbered block of time to really focus on that and spend more time with it than just the 45 minutes.
So, and Mr. Neighbors, you can speak to this if you'd like, but one of the things that we continue to run into issues with is our collaborative teams. As you all know, we are focused really, really strongly this year on our students with disabilities and closing that achievement gap. And we still struggle with having our collab teams plan
Yeah,
together.
I think you've hit all the important points. The word you used earlier, regroup, is probably the best description of that, giving them that time to really come back together, look at their data, see where they are, and plan out that rush to the end, so to speak. That's the part where I feel like they've really been giving us that feedback. They need that time to be together. And Ms. Thompson, I completely agree with what you said earlier. There is that pull on it, but being able to give them that time and really helping them to see this is what this day can be utilized for, reflecting them back to some of those conversations we've had. I think that could be tremendously valuable, especially for our subgroups that we're concerned about.
Well, I don't have an issue with it. I just was asking, but anything that will help the cause of, and that's instruction as well.
Yes, ma'am.
In order to prepare for it, so I don't have a problem with Ms. Terry.
Okay.
Well, are we out sometime in March? Did I see another day? Is there another teacher work day in
25th.
March?
March 25th.
March 25th. It's a division level.
What is that?
25th, it's a division level.
What happens
We-
that day? I
We
should
have a
know.
lot of professional development. We have a leadership academy. We have,
Okay, but not.
It's all division level.
Not the PLC thing.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm good.
Ms. Justice?
Thank you. Of the snow days, how many days did we have calendared that have not been used?
That have not been used, 22.1 right now.
Okay, all right, so,
If you take this, it'll be 21.1.
okay. So I, like everyone else, I feel the pull, and I look forward to seeing better results. So I go with the planning day.
Mr. Rossi?
I remember having a conversation last year about extra snow days and getting out early, and I think I made myself clear when I said we weren't going to do it next year, so don't ask. This, however, is understanding where our teachers are and where our students are, and giving the teachers an opportunity to be laser focused on their instruction coming up, because we are in a mad dash to the finish. I'd like to see those results happen, and giving them that day to do it, I have no problem doing that.
Ms. Saunders?
If this is what the teachers need and this is what they want, give them the 8th.
Okay. Mr. Childers?
I concur with the rest of the board. If our administration thinks that this is the better way to go and it's what our teachers need to support our students, I'm on board.
Okay. Dr. Wells?
So that being said, then we'll make all the communications to families and staff and everything else the next few days. And again, I hate to bring this to you at this point, but where we are in the calendar and things that just kind of hit. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I appreciate y'all taking it and listening, taking the feedback and making this deception. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, not tonight, but this whole snow day accumulation, days added, days on and off, that should be a conversation in the future.
Yes.
Not tonight, but just so the air is cleared of, if we never lose a snow day, do we get out in March,
Right.
I'm just saying. So, I mean, I think that's a conversation down the road.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I agree.
Dr. Wells, you have other things?
Yes, sir, I do. Okay, that's all the heavy stuff. All right. So I just want to feel, we had the joint board committee meeting between our chair, vice chair, and the chair and vice chair of the board of supervisors, and Ms. Laconich, myself, and Mr. Bryant and Stacy in there, and it was just a good I thought it was a good meeting. I felt like we had some good open communication and good back and forth. Our goal is to do this quarterly, but I just wanted to let I appreciate our board participating. I think it helped foster positive relations between the two boards and the county and the school system. So I appreciate y'all taking part, and we look forward to more of that. Some positive news, and I sent this to an email, but I want to make sure you fully understand it. The federally identified schools. That was something that, if you read the paper, you would have seen that all but one of our local divisions and us have schools that are federally identified. I mean, they need their scores and their results aren't getting what they need to be. We did not on the federal side. So that is something to be very proud of. I don't know if we put that out clear enough. I wish Justin was here tonight so he could make a comment. I could really get him to say something about it. But I won't say which divisions, but we're one, and there's another one just to the east of us that was not. Everybody else, north, south, west, does. So we should be very proud of that. So just want to put that out there. The Virginia Literacy Act, just make sure you understand that is Code of Virginia, and we're required to meet the requirements under code. So all the stuff, when we talk about the Virginia Literacy Act, it's not a DOE thing. It's not an Amherst County thing. It's the code says we will do these things. So whenever we're talking Literacy Act things, just know that's code and it's required. And so even though there may be things we could say we'd like to do this or do this, we can't because the code says you have to have certain things under code. So just understand that it's not, when we're having to go through trainings now, my staff is going through trainings on the Literacy Act. We have 4 more to go through. We meet once a month, and we'll be in Waynesboro next week for the training, and in June and so forth up till June. So they're doing some trainings there, but we're part of it. We have to, we're required to go to this, and so it's just how to bring it back and implement it into our school system. Building our plan. We have to build a division literacy plan, which we already have one. We have a division, but the state's making us do it, so we have to change the names. We can't have 2 plans named the same thing. One is for us, and we already created, but the state's requiring one as well. We have to create how we're going to implement the Literacy Act. And so we'll be working, that's what we're working on now, going to these meetings. And we have to have something in place for K through 5 by July 1. And so we're working on those aspects of it. 6 through 8, we're supposed to be doing it 6 through 8, but they haven't released any of the instructional materials for 6 through 8 yet, made any recommendations for what books to adopt and those types of things. So we can't really do 6 through 8 until the state gives us the book adoption list, the textbook list that we can actually go through and work off of. So right now it's K through 5. So we're working through that as we speak. Questions?
Board?
I'll keep going. All right. So also get back to April 8th, not instruction-wise, but the school board agenda is usually published the Friday before the meeting. I've told them to take vacation those 3 days of break. So if it pleases the board, I'd like to have the agenda to you on the 8th, which is that Monday, as opposed to Friday when they're not going to be here. So I just like to have it 1 day of grace in there, so I can get it to you. I'll have it posted on the 8th as opposed to the 5th or 6th, whatever it is, if that's okay.
I don't have a problem with that. Anybody from the board? Okay, that works.
Okay, thank you. Our June meeting, we had talked about moving our June meeting up a week earlier in the year. I just want to get your consensus. Is that something we still want to do? So because we have to advertise for June, I believe it's June 6th would be the date. June 13th is the currently scheduled date, but there were some conflicts among board members. And I think you had asked if I could move it up to the 6th. I just want to make sure we still want to do that, and if so, we'll start advertising for that.
I'm in favor of that because I will not be in town the following week, but it's up to what would the board like? That work? Okay, everybody good?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I will be on retreat with my other job that week.
Okay,
If I can get out, sneak out and make it,
Understand.
then I will be at the meeting on the 6th, but
understand.
Okay. Right.
Okay. that's
Okay.
fine.
March 18th, just for your information, which is Monday, thank you, is Maintenance, Custodians, Transportation Appreciation Day. So we're going to do some things across the division. So our maintenance staff, our custodians, our transportation specialists, it's Appreciation Day. It's a National Day Appreciation for them. So we'll do some things for them, but if you happen to be out and about or want to send a card or something or an email to them, I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Dr., excuse me, Chair, will we be doing lunches for them?
We're doing some schools are doing some breakfast. Well, the schools are doing some things for them. We're not doing a sit lunch. Mr. Rokes took some of his staff out the other day. So, and we do in May for the divisions. We do some other things. They'll get some things, but it might not all be. A lot of schools want to do some things like biscuits and donuts and stuff for the bus drivers at the school level. So we don't want to duplicate efforts.
Can we, is it possible to get that schedule? So if we want to help by handing out breakfast?
Sure.
We can participate that way?
Yep. We'll reach out to let you know. Thank you. All right. And that is all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Board, any further questions for Dr. Wells?
have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. It was a couple sections before. I thought Dr. Smith referenced an email that had a list of professional development activities that had been sent. Was that correct?
It was what I shared at the retreat.
Okay, so it's what you shared in person, but it's not an actual document.
It is a document.
We emailed it.
Okay, all right.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. All right, great, thanks.
Okay, so now we're to committee reports and individual report comments for the night. So, Mr. Childers, would you like to kick us off, please?
Sure. I'll try and keep my comments brief. I know we're running late. I have not had another meeting with the STEM Academy. We have our next meeting next Tuesday, so I will update the board after that. As far as my comments, I did attend the event this past Friday, put on by Second Stage, displaying our students' art, and got to hear our choirs for the chorus from the middle schools. It was a great event. If you didn't come, you sure missed a lot. When you look at all of the art from our students, we really have some talented students. I mean, these kids blew me away looking at what they were doing in elementary school. And, I tell people I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. So just great work there. I'm encouraged to hear about all the various emphasis on science and technology with, I know Elin is doing their science fair tonight, as a matter of fact. Manellison is working on theirs, and I think Amherst Middle had their stuff on the 12th, and just excited about that. I heard Elin won states in archery. Yes, they did. So that's awesome. And then our comments tonight about our students. I was just excited to hear the 5 C's coming out with our students and just listening. And I kept thinking through that, citizenship, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity. And I love that. And please continue to do that. And even with our staffs, of the month, I heard things like team player, patience, loving, caring about our students, passion. I heard the passion of our staff and going above and beyond. And those are the type of staff that we need to seek, hire, and retain, right? Because those are the ones that are going to put everything in to help our students be successful. And then my last comment, and I know I said I was going to be brief, and I apologize, but I love the Just Right Readers pilot program. If there's one thing that I could say to parents, that is, with your kids early in life, read to them. Read to them. It really, you have no idea the impact of taking a simple book like this and reading to a baby. And as they're going on, and the love of reading that develops in them is so tremendous, and the impact that has. So I love this program, and we need to emphasize that more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Saunders.
Y'all know I'm brief and to the point, but I got a ball game at 9:30, so go Hoos. Congratulations to all our students and staff, and I am just so happy I'm not the one who has to pick, because that would be really difficult, because we have so many great students, so many great staff, and it's really, you can see all the hard work. So, I mean, it's not that it's, we just picking somebody just to be picking someone. They have worked hard. You all have worked hard. Ms. Lakonich, you are, as in my middle child's words, an Excel wizard, and we all bow down to you. So thank you for all that hard work on the budget. That was mind-blowing to read, so I know it was mind-blowing to put together, but thank you, and I think we got through it. And when these kids stand up here, and our staff stands up here, and our teachers stand up here, and it reminds me why we're doing this, and why we want to make sure that they're all paid, and that we give the students everything we can. So thank you all.
Mr. Rossi.
Yeah, try to keep it brief. I know we did run over. I know the budget was a struggle, and it's not going to get any easier, unfortunately. But I think the amount of preparation that went into the budget, there was a lot of consideration, and I think for the division and for the teachers, for all the staff, I think we made the best decision. You know, it's nice to see the results of all the awards that we're giving here early in the evening. You know, seeing the students, and that's why we're here, and that's why we continue to do what we do. Showing the students that we appreciate who they are and what they do is what's important, and understanding that we're here for them as much as they're here for us. If that is something you understand, we need them as much as they need us, and they show us things and we can learn from them, but we're here to teach them, and ultimately that is our goal. And I really want to thank everybody for working so hard to get us where we are now, get us through the budget, but getting our kids engaged and getting the scores up, having them show up to school is really why I'm here. I'm here for that reason. But Gary, we had a little tour. Very, very impressed. What happened to the pool? Did we keep the pool?
Oh, yeah, we recycle those pools.
We're recycling them now. Okay. I thought somehow we found money for a pool in the budget. It didn't last long.
That's right.
But yeah, that's exciting to go up there and see all the construction. Now that I have dates and weeks, I can go check in on you. And that was really, really nice to see that work in progress and understanding everything that was going on. You know, it's one thing to see artwork, but to go there and put your boots on the ground, it gives you a real good perspective, the scale of the project that's going on. I'm very excited about that.
And if I may add, if anyone wants to go see that, we'd be glad to set that up for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're gonna need a hard hat, reflective vest, steel toe boots. Just so you know. I have an extra one.
Gotcha.
Sure, Mr. Rogers has one also.
Ms. Justice.
Thank you, Chair. I was not at Gov School meeting this month. They did meet, and I'm sure they had as much fun with their budget as we had here tonight, although they have a 1-hour time limit. So I heard that Amherst County dominated archery statewide again. So just awesome, awesome. Lillian, I wish you well wishes, and I hope you totally demolish in the welding wars. There we go. I need to put the glasses on. Mr. Goins, I really appreciated how you just really communicated the pulse of what you're seeing in the schools, especially in the area of engaging the students with rewards and absenteeism and averting that. And I'm so glad we kept you in the state of Virginia. So, and I have gotten to see Second Stage art many times, and I am so blessed by it. Every time I go in there for coffee, I make certain to take a tour by the art that represents our county and the books. And I also wanted to say something, and it's gone. So we're just going to have to live without it. I'm very thankful for Mr. Porter coming and Mr. Sam back there coming and engaging. And budget is so daunting, and I really appreciate the way each of you engage with me and help me understand and navigate all this information. And hope you all have a really great spring break. It'll happen before I see you next. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Ligon.
Spring break, that was this week for me. Gone now. Anyway, we had a lower board meeting last week. I had to leave a little early, got to feeling bad, but Mr. Neighbors and I were there long enough to know that things are well. There's going to be some intense information coming out about the fund balance, and what the school's going to have to do with that in our region. And so I won't speak on it because it's a little new right now. Of course, we'll be doing a budget with Laurel here in the month of May. So that's my report on Laurel. Things are well. VSBA is active. You all receive all the reports from Kessler and from others. We did have the opportunity to attend our Southern Regional Forum last night in Appomattox. Appomattox County has done some renovations, extraordinary renovations, and they had us down. Also in the midst of that, we were able to listen to some things that are going on with some other schools in our region or in that region, and can always bring back one or two ideas. But I would say that we're pretty much in line with doing things that other people are doing, family engagements, and of course absenteeism is heavy, health careers, mental health. So I think that we are touching on all those. We want to thank Dr. Wells for taking me down with Ms. Thompson. That was good. I attended Amherst Middle School's Science Expo on Tuesday night. I was invited by Ms. Laub to bring my radiology setup. And so I took two of my students that had been Amherst County graduates with me, and they were very helpful. But just seeing what these young people are doing at Amherst Middle with their own sciencey things. I mean, just a little something going on all over the room, from snakes to water bottling. So I kind of walked around just seeing what ingenious there is going on over there. And of course, we had the bus from CTE, which I introduced that to my students. They didn't have it when they were in school. So it's been a good week. We're attending a little bit of athletics. This is my time of year to be out in somebody's field at all times. So I want to congratulate all the recipients tonight, all of the great stars that we had. It's kind of like the Oscars in here tonight, and it's well-deserved as to what we're doing. And another budget, that's all I'm going to say, another budget. We made it, and as we've been told and said, we thank everybody for the hard work. I've learned a little something about numbers through the years, but I tell you, y'all make it easy for us and make it simple. So thank you so much for heading that up and for your whole staff. It's a unity effort. I think we accomplished what we set out to do. As I said in my other statement, we're giving compensation. We're trying to do retention and recruitment. We're trying to keep everybody happy. And the whole insurance thing, that's another conversation for later, but we seem to be holding our own. That's always a floating object. We've dealt with that before, but we appreciate the work that you are keeping on it. And I'm excited about the 8th. I wasn't hesitant. I just wanted to hear all the information. I'm sure that parents that are going to Hawaii or Switzerland can have one more day. And, you know, it's all good. I mean, people plan extraordinary vacations on spring break. I just go down the street. But, but those who are going far, far away, go ahead and extend your plane fare and enjoy yourself. So and just to be real, we always encourage that our staff, our teachers can have more time. I just asked that question, but we want them to have so much. Every night we come with you all, there's one more thing added. Somebody's added another implementation. I don't know how things get done, but anyway, I know they do. So if we can help the teachers to have, after their vacation, to come back and have a little time to get in order, I'm excited about that. So that's all I have, Ms. Terry. Thank you so much.
Okay. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. I'd like to extend the board's condolences to Kathy Stone's family. She was a valuable employee, and also to the high school, because I know they're having a really tough time recovering from the losses that they've had this year. So our hearts go out to them. I also want to, on a good note, I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Stinnett and, is it the World Design Team? Real World Design Challenge. And their successes. That's just amazing. So that's something that I'm sure they're highlighting, but we have a Jim and Mrs. Stinnett who works with that team, and just really appreciate her efforts as well as the students. And I'm right there with everyone else. The Just Right Reader program is just an excellent program, and to get those books into the hands of parents and kids, and that there's a promotion that sort of walks them through it and that focus. Also, congratulations to the Amarecos and their awards. We have a lot to be proud of, and our kids are doing just a amazing job. Thank everyone for their work on the comprehensive plan. I want to thank you for your work with us on the budget. I know there's work to be done, but just thank you so much for that teamwork and collaboration. Also, want to, I believe Ms. Ligon remind me, the VSBA legislative recommendations, if there's any concerns that our board would have, I think we have to present that to them by
Yeah.
June. So board members, if you have, that booklet's been given to you. I don't know about the new members. We may need to check, make sure they have access.
Well, everybody gets a copy. VSBA sends it
I
out.
don't know if have we gotten it since
Well,
January?
it's not
though?
time for that. Right now, they're just calling for legislative positions.
Oh, okay. That is something we, if you're interested, you can look into, see if we have any feedback for that. And then I'm with Mrs. Ligon about having a future conversation about our instructional time and our calendars and how to use that. It's just so important to have our students in there with us so that they can learn and we can teach. And I know we all get tired, but, just a culture of valuing that instructional time. So another conversation for another day. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the legislative options, so board members can bring those to the board, and then the board, by how the bylaws are stated, the board has to approve them and then go, so as a board, it's not an individual person bringing up things, but you bring them to the board, and the board can vote to bring them forward to the VSBA.
Okay. Okay, so I would also ask that everybody keep Ms. Stone family and the Amherst County school system family in their prayers. This is a rough time for everybody, and we can get through it together. Congratulations to the Real World Challenge, Design Challenge. That is an awesome thing. It's a program I wish it existed a long time ago. Seeing how the kids take those true challenges, real things, and I couldn't do that. It's incredible. The Day of Giving coming up. It's that kind of program that really helps our students become citizens, and to see them go out there and give back to their community that supported them through the years. I encourage every student, teacher, parent, whoever, to participate in that as much as they can. It means a lot to so many people, and it feels so good once you do it. You take the time, and once you put the time into it, you get as much out of it as the person who's receiving. So I encourage everybody to take part in that. We did have our joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors, and the great thing about that meeting and the great thing about hopefully the upcoming meetings we have is no surprises. We don't get to the end of the year and go, oh, guess what? Here we are, and we need more money, or we need this, or this is where we are. If we get a chance to sit there and talk about it, no surprises from either side. So I think that'll be a great thing on the go forward. I did hear the words chronic absenteeism out there at one point. I don't think we can say it enough. Parents, get the kids in school. There are times for vacations and there are times for other things, but there's time for instruction time. So let's keep the kids in where we need them. And the April 8th, the day for the children off and the teachers to get their work day in, we need our teachers on the ball, and we need to give them that time. I don't discount the kids are out of school that day, but we need to look after our teachers too. And there will be a solar eclipse that day, so there won't be another one until our kids are a lot older. So I encourage them to try to do something with that, though. And then lastly, I've worked on a budget, not necessarily here, but at work, at home, and nobody ever likes the word budget. But I have to reiterate what the rest of the board has said. You guys put in so much work to get it ready for us to have a few questions and approve. We're not having to hash out every little detail because you guys have done the hard work. So thank you for putting in the effort to do the hard work and making our lives a lot easier than it could be. We have some choices and some decisions to make, but you guys do the hard work for us. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much. Okay. So now we need to,
Well, I'll just leave it up to you. I know it's getting to 9:20. We did have a closed session for my mid-year evaluation scheduled. If you, as a board, I'm okay with going another month, if y'all are. It is getting late. It's up to you. I'll be here as late as you want to be, but I'm also okay if y'all want to put it off to April as well.
board?
Well, it's up to the chair and the board, I mean, whatever you want to do.
Personally, I'd like to get it done. I know April and May, we have a lot of things going on with the closing of school, but I'm open to either.
I'm available now if y'all are. It's, we're not coming back tomorrow.
There's that, but, you know, y'all, NC State just beat Duke, so I am like primed and ready to go for my game. So, but I will do whatever the rest of the board wants to do.
Hit record.
That's it. Let's go and get it. If y'all are okay, let's get it over with and we knock it out.
Okay.
Okay, so I have something to read.
Yeah.
Okay. So pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, it is recommended the board convene a closed meeting for the following. A1 personnel matters, the superintendent's mid-year review will be discussed.
Okay. Board, do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we go into closed session for the mid-year eval.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.